So Japan. I went to Japan. I went to Japan with a good friend of mine, a friend from high school. Yeah, I just wanted to go to Japan, and I had enough money that I could make the trip happen and I could plan for it. And my sister had gone a couple years ago and highly recommended it. And obviously everybody recommends Japan because it's amazing. It's such an amazing place to travel to. I can't really think of a better place to vacation. I mean, if you're after some specific other things, like if you really want to go to beaches, like, okay, well, Japan's not going to be the spot for you, right? If you want to go to sandy beaches, you want to go to like Hawaii or Fiji or Mexico or something, right? Or if you want to go to like something really specific like the Colosseum, right? Obviously Japan's not that big for you. But if you want to go to a place that is extremely historical, extremely beautiful, extremely modern, and at the same time old, and a place that's very safe, a place that has very favorable currency transfers for most Western currencies, a place that has affordable hotels, a place that has public transportation that's excellent. Like, it's all these things that make it such an incredible place to travel to. And now is a great time for foreigners, because, well, for most foreigners, depending on what country you live in and what monetary system you use. If you're an American, if you're a Canadian, if you're a Englishman or English lady. Also, Luray, hey, how's it going? Happy to see you. If you're a Euro user, Japan is great because the yen is really weak right now, so it's really nice for us. Bad for the Japanese. Oh, something just happened. What was that? A subscriber? I don't know how to see what happened on YouTube. YouTube does a really bad job of giving you activity feeds, right? Like, I'm looking at viewer activity and it's just empty. Also, hello. Also, it's lure as in fishing lure. I've always thought it was luray. Not luray. And yeah, I subscribed to your channel. Well, thank you for the subscription. I'm happy that the sound notification worked, at least for me. I don't know if it worked for you. I don't know if you heard anything there, but I certainly did. And I set those up so long ago that I don't remember which of those sounds corresponds to what thing, but it's a work in progress. We'll slowly figure these things out and get them to work right. I didn't hear anything. Dang, that happened on Twitch too. I need to figure that out. But that'll be a problem for another time, I think. But yeah, Japan is amazing. So, and also, yeah, thank you, Lura, for coming to the stream. So here we are on our first slide of, I mean, we're already 18 minutes in and I'm on slide 1. That's a bad sign. But here we are on my first, also, Snap a Japan trip from a few months ago. Yeah, I think we talked a bit about it, right? Because I think we were going around the same time. I think you were going like a week before I was going, I think, unless I'm confusing with somebody else, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. And yeah, you were in a different city when you were in like Kyoto and I was in Tokyo or something. But yeah, I do remember that. But okay, so there's another note. What did somebody else just do there? Because I don't know. That was a different sound effect for me. I think that was I started a week before you arrived and based in Narita. Yes, second week. I think that notification was for like something? I don't know. Somebody did something. If you did something, tell me what you did. I need to stop saying I remember that from last time I was streaming and I need to stop doing it. Maybe if I just keep talking extremely fast, I won't have time to say oh no, I did it again. But yeah, so we went to LAX, of course, because I am based in Southern California. So this picture is from LAX and it is about to enter the JAL, which is Japan Airlines. So we got 2 tickets for $1,800 combined, not each. So it was about a little under $1,000 each. Or yeah, a little under $1,000 each, which is the most expensive single thing when you go to Japan, because there's good currency exchange, there's good hotels, but there are not inexpensive flights to Japan, right? For the most part, $1,000 is, when you consider it in the grand schemes of thing, it's, not that much money, but it is a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money to spend, and that is the major hurdle with Japan, is the flight. So we booked I spent a lot of time looking for good deals and trying to plan what would be a good month, and kind of finding a median of a good time to go that's not going to be too busy, and also a time that's not going to be too expensive. And the time that we went, which was in fall for us in the West, which was around the time when the cherry blossom festivals and the cherry blossom seasons were all kind of ending in Japan, which is a very heavy tourist time in Japan. So we wanted to go right after that, right? Because the weather would still be good, because it's still, I guess, spring over there. I don't know how geography works, but the weather would still be good, but we would miss a lot of the major tourist rush that would be going on. $1,000 USD is plenty if you're not looking to buy too much stuff there. Or we're at the arcades. Yeah, well, $1,000 is good for like accommodations and stuff, which at the end of this thing, I have a full spreadsheet. I itemized, I tracked everything. I think, spoilers, I spent around $3,000 overall, including flight, accommodation, and food. I think it came out to about $1,000 for the flight, $1,000 for the accommodation, and about $1,000 for other stuff, being merch that we bought and food and things like that. Each $1,000 or $3,000 each. So, and we didn't, like, you could go a lot less, right? You could definitely get a much cheaper stay in Japan, but we bought kind of middle of the road hotel rooms. We went to a lot of excursions, kind of, so you can go on a smaller budget than that. I thought it was just spending money. Yeah, about $1,000 was what we had for spending money, right? And that was plenty, right? So yeah, you could definitely make a cheaper trip. You could definitely make a more expensive trip. But I was happy with the amount we spent and for how much we did, because it was a very packed trip. So here we were at LAX, JAL, which is a good airline. You can get cheaper tickets, but we specifically wanted to take a Japanese airline, right? So my friend is kind of a bit of a Japanophile, which, I mean, of course, so am I. But he was very adamant on wanting to go with a Japanese airline and on a Japanese plane, right? So I know JAL has a lot of partnerships with like United. They might be owned by the same company, or they might be a conglomerate or something, but so United will often fulfill JAL flights, right? So they'll be like, this is a JAL ticket, but United is going to fulfill it on it. You're going to get a United plane with a United staff. I think might be a JAL staff. I'm not sure how that works, but I think it's a United plane with a United staff. But we didn't want that. We wanted a Japanese plane with a Japanese crew going to Japan with the Japanese food options, right? Just, go all the way. So we got the JAL tickets. $1,000 I thought was affordable, was a reasonable price. So yeah, of course we flew economy because I'm not a baller. The difference between I of course I looked at business class. The difference between business and economy is usually at least double, right? So if you're gonna spend $1,000 on an economy, it'll be $2,000 to $3,000 for business class. So it's like, heck no, I'm not gonna spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a business class flight. No way. Some people would be willing to, but I was not. And then from then it's another doubling if you'd like to go to first class or like business plus usually. So economy $1,000, business $2,000 to $3,000, first class business plus, $3,000 plus, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. So yeah, I want to do JIL next time. I plan a trip to Japan. American Airlines in-flight entertainment was meh, but it was interesting to watch Shrek shouting in a Kansai dialect. That does sound interesting. Yeah, I know I think the two major Japan airlines are ANA and JAL. ANA being, what does ANA stand for? I can't remember right now. I think ANA is a little bit higher quality, than JAL. It's a little newer company. I think, and it's a little more upscale, like just a little bit more, like not by a huge amount. And their tickets are also a little more expensive. All Nippon Airways. Thank you. Yes, exactly. That's what my sister flew with. Oh, hey, Kyo. Lovely to see you. Are you watching this stream from your class right now? Are you being bad? I hope you're not being bad. But yeah, my sister flew ANA because she got a great deal. I think she got tickets for like $700 and she went a couple of years ago on ANA flights. And yes, you are. Okay. Well, that on paper, I'll have to discipline, need correction for that. But on the DL, thank you for coming to the stream and thank you for stopping by. I'm telling my teacher what a VTuber is. Are you, why? Did they see what you were watching? Are they witnessing me now? Can your teacher hear me? I certainly hope they can't. Or is this like this could be like homework. This could be an assigned classwork related material because he saw you. Oh no, you need to be better at hiding these things. It shouldn't be that hard. You got to get the strats of like how to hide your phone. As a frequent test cheater at school, you know. Oh hey Shiro, lovely to see you. Oh my god, is that a Zephy I see? It is. Lovely to see you on YouTube as well. And I asked if you were an anime. Yeah, I am an anime. I'm red, so I'm anime. But yeah, so we got on the airplane, LAX. If I can get the next slide to come up. Zephy admitting another crime. I do commit crime from time to time. So here was our food, right? Now, this food looks pretty freaking disgusting, right? It looks pretty bad. Now, Iku's saying with the dun dun dun, Iku's a chef. So, looking at this food for Iku is probably a bit traumatic. But let me tell you, this, I think you can see my mouse. This pile of amorphous beige glop is a chunk of salmon. And it has this weird like goo on top of it. And the goo is like a maple or something, like sauce. This, oh yeah, and you did work at an airplane catering company for a while. Yeah. So, but this salmon was delicious. I'm not even kidding. This salmon was so tasty. I don't know why it looks disgusting. It was delicious. The rice was delicious. The salmon was delicious. The corn was delicious. The fruit was good. Look how colorful it is. Then there was more salmon here. There's cold little like weird salmon with, I think this was potato salad, but the texture was really weird. It might have been like lotus root potato salad or something. Cherry tomato. This weird little like noodle thing, which was meh, kind of not great. And then the little salad, which, you know, it's iceberg lettuce with tomatoes. But this was a pretty tasty meal. And we got miso soup over here. Water, miso soup, and water. Which I'm glad that they were not skimping out on the water, which is nice. But the food was good. And the in-flight entertainment, I didn't take too much advantage of. What I ended up doing was I brought my old Kindle Fire tablet, which is like basically a cheap iPad. And I have like a case, right? Like a flip case for it. And I figured out I could stuff the edge of the flip case into the airplane's, like the crack between the TV and the back of the seat in front of me. And then my iPad basically would sit where the TV would be. And it was bigger than the TV for one, because those TVs are tiny. And I basically was able to use that instead of the crappy airline TV with the crappy airline entertainment. So, and I had pre-downloaded some stuff. I had pre-downloaded some episodes of The Expanse, which I think I might have watched some of. And I had pre-downloaded Ran, R-A-N, the movie by, I think it's a Kurosawa movie. And I had pre-downloaded something else. Oh no, and I did end up watching Everything Everywhere All at Once on the airplane's in-flight entertainment. And then I think I watched like some TV because I wanted something different. And I read some books and listened to some audiobooks. But I watched 2 movies. Ron was good. And yeah, it was fine. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once was fine. It was okay. But the flight there was awesome because we had a 3-seat row and nobody sat between us. So we got to put all of our junk on the seat in the middle We had plenty of leg room. We had a little base on our left, right, where we could stack our stuff and move things around. It was great. And this is like an 18-hour flight, I think. And let me tell you, having this, that's nice. Yeah, it's like having the seat between you open is night and day. Because on our way back, we did not have a seat open. And it was miserable. The flight back was miserable. I was also sick on the flight back, so it might have been that. But we had to put all of our junk in the seat in front of us, and like there was no leg room. I was so miserable on the flight back. I don't even remember what I did on the flight back. I don't know if I watched any movies or I can't. It was just a blur. I know I wore a mask on the flight back because I was feeling sick. I think I got like the flu or something, or a cold. And I just remember snotting into the mask and having to change my mask every couple hours because it would just get disgusting. That was not fun. So flight there, great. The flight there was awesome. Flight back, trash. Hated it. I was miserable. But, you know, what can you do? It's a long flight. So this was our first, my first sight of the country of Japan, basically, from my airplane window. And I was struck by, as somebody coming from California, which is a extremely drought-ridden state, a very brown state, a very dry state. Seeing this much green was a bit of a shock. Because, you know, when you see Japan, it's like, I think mountains and, you know, rivers or whatever. I don't really think of big stretches of forest land and grassland, but there it is, and it's beautiful, right? So, a crappy picture from an airplane window with my phone. But yeah, we came in, landed in Haneda Airport, and we got there in the evening, right? So it was I liked landing in the evening because I know a lot of people will land in the morning and then they will intentionally stay awake all day that first day in order to try and beat the jet lag. But even if you sleep on the airplane, you're going to be drained and you're going to be tired because it's not going to be a good rest. So I much prefer landing in the evening, early evening, and then just sleeping. And I had no jet lag at all. We were both fine, totally fine. It was easy for us. Like, I was worried that the next day was going to be a rough day because of the jet lag and because we had a lot planned that day. But no, it was smooth sailing, felt great the whole time. Except for the way back when I got sick. But yeah, so we landed, and I had planned, so I had done all the planning for this trip. My friend had pitched in and had helped with selecting the hotels, obviously, and helped with deciding the destinations and stuff. But I did 90% of the planning and preparation. I booked all the hotels, I planned all the destinations, I set out the schedule, I did the budgeting. And this is my first time planning a vacation, and it was really intimidating at first. I was really lucky to have my sister help me get started and show me some good tools. Like, one cool thing is on Google Maps or some other apps, you can place pins of the locations you're interested in. So what we ended up doing was, like in Tokyo, for example, putting pins all over the place of all the places that I was interested in, and then zooming out, looking at those pins, and being able to localize a place to get hotels based off where those pins are and stuff like that. It makes your planning easier. But the more I got into the planning, the more I started to get better at it, and the more I started to really enjoy it. And I actually found myself really, really loving the vacation planning process. And it's almost as fun as the vacation itself, because my last couple of weeks of work before this vacation were just like me not thinking of work. I was at my desk looking at hotels, looking at destinations, reading articles whenever anybody wasn't looking, right? I would tab out and read articles and look up destinations and stuff. And because I just couldn't focus on my work. I was too excited to go on this vacation, and I was enjoying the research process way too much. And I think I did a really good job. I had a great time. My friend had a great time. But you guys can judge for yourself. But yeah, there were some challenges, and there were some things, such as the fact that I had planned the hotels and I'd planned the destinations, but I had done no planning on the actual logistics of reaching those destinations, right? So it's like I knew I was going to stay here and I knew I had to get to this place by this time. But my mindset was, I'll just figure it out once I get there. Which, luckily, in a country like Japan, you can do, because the public transport is amazing. And it's known for being amazing, so I figured it would be okay. But I was a little bit worried. And there were some growing pains when we first got back there. It's very fish out of water, but that's a good way to do it. And our first growing pain was when we landed, we were supposed to get a shuttle from our hotel. And so that's the whole reason I booked this hotel, right? So, because it had a shuttle. And I called the hotel and I say, hey, where do we go for the shuttle? And they're like, oh, our shuttles don't start till 9 p.m. And I was like, what? 9 p.m.? What? That's so late. What? You don't have like... And we were there at like 6 or something. And we're like, well, we're not going to wait in the airport for 3 hours. Like, heck no. So we're in the airport, and airport train stations are probably extra confusing, I would say, in Japan, because they're big usually, and there's a lot going on, and they're super crowded, and people are running around everywhere. And so we had to figure out very quickly what the heck we were doing. And we figured it out. It was a little tricky. Here's a little outfit design by Snack, a good friend of mine. They have my banner on Twitter as well. Was theirs. But I told them when I was in Japan, I was like, hey, can you do like a city, like a urban, like alternate outfit for when I go to Japan? And so yeah, they drew this, and I thought it was cool. I was like, this will be like my Japan outfit, right? Like in my mind, right, for my character, which I thought was fun, with the cool little shorts and the socks and all that. So this is lovely, right? But yeah, so we landed, and we had to get to this here station, which is Anamori Inari station. And like I said there, it was probably the smallest station that we saw for the duration of the trip. Yeah, cute. Yeah, it is very cute. It's great. Snack is I really like Snack's art a lot. It's very underappreciated. But this is this is probably the smallest and most sketchy station, just because like it's incredibly narrow. The side that you can see right now is like the wide side, but the other side is like really narrow, and you're just walking like right next to the track. And there's not a lot of like fencing or anything going on, right? But this was a nice low-key station to be our first station, right? It's not very busy, and very just chill. And it's cool because it's just like right in the middle of like houses, right? They have just a station. So we get here, it's evening, late afternoon, early evening, I'd say. It's starting to get, the sun's starting to go down, it's getting a bit darker. So we're at the station, we come here from the airport, we have all of our luggage, we exit the station. This is the view from directly outside the station. I'll go up one. So you kind of get off on this side over here, the big side. You go, I think if you're looking the other way than the way I'm looking right here, there's like a bridge. You go over on top of the tracks, and then you go down, and then you go out the front, and you see this. And so this is in the city of whatever the city is. I don't know. Small goober, yeah. So speaking of small goobers, these little kitsunes, which are all over the place in this area. And that's because this is a shrine area, which the name of the station being Anamori Inori. Anamori Inori is the name of the shrine that's right down the street here. So you come out and you see these torii gates. I think this one's considered a torii gate. I don't know what you'd call these. I think these are just train station things. If you follow these torii gates, it'll actually lead you to a shrine, which I didn't actually even know about when I booked this hotel, but that was really cool. So we come out here. There's a little cafe here. Do I have the shrine? Yeah, I'll get to the shrine in a minute. But the first thing we did was we walked to our hotel. So this was our first hotel. This was My Stays Haneda. I would say this is probably the worst hotel we stayed at. This wasn't a picture of my room. This is just a picture from the website, but this is pretty much identical to what my room looked like, right? Very small room. Miss Westy? What does that mean? Oh, what? Miss Westy? My Stays Haneda? But yeah, this was probably the worst room, but it was also the cheapest. It was $76 a night, and it was not that bad. I say it was the worst, but that's because the standards for hotels in Japan are higher significantly than I would say the hotels in America. The hotels in America that are cheap are much sketchier, much more dangerous, much less clean. This hotel was fine, right? Room is actually lovely. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And the rooms were so cheap. I haven't heard the new Kanye single. No, I have not. Also, hey, Kira. Yeah, the rooms were fine. And we got 2 of them the first night because I was like, all right, we just got off the flight. We're gonna be tired. We're gonna be cranky. Let's get 2 rooms for our first night so that we don't have to share and we're not cranky. We shared rooms for the rest of the trip. I kind of wish I'd booked double rooms later in the trip too, so that we could have a break from each other because we got a little cranky, but not very cranky. We're both pretty agreeable, laid back people. But yeah, we got 2 rooms. It was fine. Also, whoever just did something, subscribed or something, I don't know, because I don't remember what my notifications are and YouTube doesn't tell me anything. Thank you. No wonder I didn't see your stream. I forgot to sub. Yeah, I assume that was you subbing right there. Thank you for the subs, guys. Yeah, it was a fine hotel. There's not a lot to say about it. But so we dropped our stuff off, then we wandered around the town. So this Haneda is the city we're in. And Haneda is close to the airport, right? The airport is the Haneda airport, right? So we stumbled on this temple, which is the Anamori Inari shrine, right next to the hotel. And they had all these kitsunes were all over the town, right? And there's little kitsunes with little bowls of water and stuff and these cute little things. So we found this at night. Here's a picture just from Google because I didn't get a good picture of it because we weren't there in the daytime. But it looks like this. It's a shrine. There's lots of shrines in Japan and they're all cool. But this one was cool because it was like kitsune themed and everybody loves kitsunes. So we wandered around that night. We got some yeah, thanks for the subscriber. I don't know why that made a different noise this time than it did last time in my ears. I don't think you guys can hear the noises, the subscriber noises, but I can hear them. You thought fox shrines are only in fiction, not gonna lie. No, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Literally, you'll be in the middle of like a dense skyscraper bound city and you'll look down an alleyway and there'll be a little shrine just nestled between the 2 of them peeking out. So that was our first day. Not a lot happened. We looked at a shrine. We wandered around. We went to 7-Eleven. We got some of the famous 7-Eleven food and to bed. So the next day, we had a packed day the next day. So first thing first, we had to go to Team Labs Planets, which is a pretty popular destination. People might be familiar with it. It's a multi-sensory art exhibit, right? It's got sound, it's got music, it's got things you touch. Are there living animals in the Fox Shrine? Not that I could see. There are, I think, in some, but none of the ones that I saw. There was a squirrel one, but I didn't go in it. But yeah, Team Labs Planets it's kind of a touristy thing. It's kind of a tourist trap, but it's cool. I think it's worth going to. So we struggled to get here because we got on a train, and it started going the way we wanted to go. But then at one station, it just started going backwards. And we're like, what the heck? Trains aren't supposed to go backwards, are they? We're not at the end of the line. We're just in the middle of the track. And we got super confused and we got on different trains. We got super lost. And I gave ourselves 3 hours to get here is what I budgeted. And thanks for the sub, whoever did that. The map said it would only take like an hour and a half. I gave myself 3 hours. It took us 3 hours. We got here just in time. We had no time to spare. So we got here. You line up all along the outside. It was packed. There was a line all the way out the door and into the sidewalk and all that, right? So we stood in line. So you enter the little antechamber room, which you can kind of see here, these big black doorways. And there's lockers, right? Like a locker room. And before you get into the locker room area, they put you in a little staging area and they play a video. And the video says, hey, this is, just a brief explanation of that's like a multi-sensory art exhibit. You have to take your shoes off for this. So we'll provide you lockers, but you have to be barefoot in this exhibit. So, and then it also said, I remember it said, there's a lot of parts of this exhibit that have mirrors on the floor. So if you are a girl, or I guess a guy technically, wearing a dress or a skirt, people are going to be able to see up your skirt. So you can check out shorts. This is what the instructional video is telling us, right? It's saying, 1, show us your feet. 2, people are going to look up your skirt. So you can check out shorts, right? So some people then, you know, had to go off to the side, and they got little shorts and they put them under their skirts so that people couldn't look up their skirts. Because yeah, bro, what the heck? Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. But it makes sense because yeah, there are several rooms in here which are all mirrors. The floor is mirrors, the ceiling is mirrors, and the walls are mirrors. And like, you can definitely see every angle of things, right? Like, I can see why that would be a serious issue, but they had luckily thought of it and had a plan for that. So we did that. We took our shoes off. I was not wearing a skirt, believe it or not. I seldom do, so I did not have that issue. And so what do I have as the next picture? Okay, that's skipping ahead a bit. So we put our shoes in the thing, and then we go into this dark room, and it's like a staircase ramp. It's like a ramp staircase, and it's totally dark, and there's little lights like twinkling, and it's a waterfall coming down the stairs, and it's pretty long, and it's pretty mediumly steep, and so you have to walk up this dark waterfall, and it's playing like, you know, cool like ambient music, which it was really cool to like, literally, because it's water. It was cool because it's like, oh, look, like we're walking through water. What the heck? This is not what you usually do in an art museum. And 2, I'm pretty sure why it's like that, why you walk through a waterfall as your first thing, is it washes everybody's nasty feet, right? So if everybody has to walk through this high pressure waterfall up to their ankles, below their knees, really, just barely, it's gonna wash all y'all's nasty feet off, right? So I was appreciative of that, how it was a piece of the art and also a piece of the design that they had thought about. I liked it. So we walked up the feet cleaner 9000. We get to the top and we enter this room here, right? And so this is one of those mirror rooms. The floor is mirrors, the walls are mirrors, and it has these LED lights, strands just everywhere, right? And they're doing stuff too. It's not just can't wash off my calluses. Well, we don't have to see your calluses. We'll just pretend they don't exist. But these lights are all doing stuff, right? They're like dripping and making weird like light things, and there's cool sounds, and people are bumping into them. And it's kind of like a bit of a maze to get through. It's hard to kind of tell-ish where you're going, but there is a route, right? And you walk through this room and you zigzag around, and you can see like, right, people are walking through the route here, and you can't really see it, but there is like a path to follow. And this was cool. This was awesome. This is kind of the quintessential what Team Labs is about. Stuff like this that's just very bright and sensory and cool. So, you know, this is what we signed up for, and I loved it. I love this kind of stuff and the music, and it was a cool experience. So we go through that room. There's a bunch of rooms, so I'll kind of show some of them. This was the ballroom, and the ballroom was full of balls. And these balls were like kind of like giant exercise balls, right? They were kind of, some of them were really rubbery. Like the one that on the right, the red one, was like really thick, like a thick rubbery and it's full of air. And then some of them were like more thin papery, right? And I think they were saying something like you can hit the balls, and they'll make like a noise or something. They weren't really doing anything that I could tell when I was messing with them, but they were kind of changing colors and doing things, and you can kind of push them around a little bit, knock them into people. You're not supposed to. We didn't, but you could. I think I remember them being kind of chained down, like a chain chomp from Mario too. So that was kind of fun. But as you can see on the left here, how it's deep red, or I guess bright, medium red. I don't know. It's red. And then on the right's pink, right? These things were shifting colors, and there was music things going on. Like, this whole place had kind of ambient music the whole time, different, you know, ambiences, which I love. So here was the ballroom. Again, the floor was mirrors, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. The floor is all mirrors. Most of the rooms had mirror floors, just because, I don't know, it's cooler. This was the bean room. the bean bonus room. If you've ever played the old Harry Potter video games, you'll know all about the bean bonus room. This is the bean room, and it's technically not a room. It's outside, and it's just beans. It's just big metal beans. Who doesn't love big metal beans? I know I love big metal beans. So I like the bean room, and you could touch the beans, you could poke the beans, you could look at the beans, you can just appreciate the beans. And there's mist like from mist machines coming and engulfing the beans in their misty aura, and the beans are just sitting there majestically being beans. So bean room, yeah, I don't know what else to say. You cannot eat the bean room. Thank you, welcome to stream. The beans are not edible to my knowledge. Maybe somebody could eat them. I couldn't eat them though. But yeah, the bean room, man, freaking love the bean room. So there was a bunch of other rooms. There was rooms that had a bunch of live flowers hanging from the ceiling that would like drop like slowly on top of your head and things like that. There were several. You could eat the beans. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to see a video of you eating the beans in the bean room. There were several rooms that were ankle deep or knee deep water. I remember one of them was kind of cool. That had like knee deep water, and it had like projections of stuff in the water from the ceiling. Was a bunch of projectors. They're projecting like fish swimming around and projecting like flowers floating, and you can kind of like bump into them and cool. Bet you can. I'll record bean eating right now. There's no way you have a big metal bean. Only the bean room has big metal beans. No simple mortal can possess a big metal bean. But yeah, there was a bunch of rooms, and they were all cool, and they had stuff like this. You kind of get the idea. I'm not going to show you all of them. You can go yourself and look at the rest of them if you want to go. But yeah, Team Labs is cool. I recommend it. It's not too expensive. It's kind of a tourist trap thing. It's very crowded, but it's cool. I liked it. So after that, after going to Team Labs, our plan was to see the Gundam, the big old Gundam in the town where the Gundams. I'm blanking on the names of all the towns. I'm sure I wrote it. I'm sure I wrote it in the next slide or something. Yes, Yokohama. So we rushed to Yokohama. We had to take a bus for a big portion of the way because we had pre-bought tickets to the viewing platform for the Gundam, which were kind of expensive. I think they were like $30 each or something. It was like $15, $20 to go into the viewing platform, and then like $15 to go to like the store. So they were kind of expensive, but we rushed to Yokohama. We barely made it on time again. Yokohama is cool. I like Yokohama a lot. Yokohama's a city. It's right next to Tokyo, right? It's one of the many cities that surrounds Tokyo. And it's a city that I highly recommend. There's a lot of cool stuff there. There's like really cool shopping district areas by the ocean. There's the Gundam, obviously. There's like a European themed area, like kind of town square or street. There's a lot going on in Yokohama. There's that tower you can see in the background, me standing in front of it, almost as big as it. But there's that Yokohama viewing tower, which we did not go into. I didn't even know it existed, but it was there and it was cool. Yokohama is very cool. But the Yokohama is defended by a mighty defender, that being the Gundam. So the famous Gundam, there are several famous Gundams in Japan, but this is like probably the most well-known one, I would say. Quite large, obviously. I believe life-size, 1-to-1 scale. And so we had bought tickets to go to the viewing platform, which you can see where this blue kind of strip is. The viewing platform, you go up there, and it does a little show kind of thing. So the Gundam moves, right? It's not stationary. No, it's not stationary. It is, but it isn't. The head moves around, the arms move around, and it like stands. It makes a couple steps. It like kind of goes off of the platform, and it like does some poses. Who are you? I am me. And you are you. And who I am is somebody who went to the big Gundam. Yeah, so the viewing platforms, you go up this elevator, and it's like segmented, right? Like you go in a group, they set you up on like these like squares on the floor, right? And they're like, all right, you stand there, and then they send you such a vibe. I'm glad that it's such a vibe. Hopefully a good vibe. That they line you up, and then they corral you into the elevator like a bunch of cattle, and you go up to either the first or the second level. And whichever level you go to, you swap at some point. So you get to see it from both levels. This level, I don't know, you get to see the arm a little better, and then this level you get to see the head a little better. But you get to see them both. And the Gundam does a little thing. You're up there for a while. You're up there for like a half hour, I would say, maybe a little less. And my recommendation is, if you go to the Gundam, is to probably not buy the viewing platform tickets. I had read online, people had the same idea that the viewing platform ticket was kind of not that great, not kind of overrated and overpriced. And I would agree with that. I read that people said that, but I wanted to do it anyways. But yeah, I wouldn't do it again, and I wouldn't recommend you do it, because you can just get into the Gundam area, I think, for free, I think, or it's like 15. It's either free or it's like $15 to get in like the area, and you could just stand in front of the statue and honestly get a better view, probably. Like, I feel like you get a better view not paying money if you just stand in front of it, and there's plenty of space. You can set up a little picnic blanket and see the full show. It does like a show every like half hour, every 45 minutes. And it just kind of walks a little bit. It plays a bunch of like Gundam music, and there's like a bunch of Japanese talking. There's some sort of like audio drama thing that plays, right? And they're all very dramatic about it, and they're like Amuro. How do you, I don't know how to use Amuro Ray, the original Gundam pilot, is all, you know, yelling about Gundams and stuff. I don't know what he's saying though, because I don't speak Japanese. But yeah, if you like Gundam, it's worth seeing the Gundam. There are other Gundams options in Japan. But this was the Gundam factory in Yokohama. And this was the little cafe, which had some cool bottles. You know, we got some cool drinks. And you can see the Gundam in the background, which is kind of cool. You could like get a little meal here, get some drinks, and like watch the Gundam do its thing. And then, do I have that downstairs? No, I don't. Downstairs, there's a store, a Gundam store, which has a bunch of Gundam merch and Gundam kits. And it's kind of interesting. I think what they told me was that when you go to purchase something, you can only go to the register one time. So it's like, you have to pick everything you want and go to the register, make your purchase, and then you're done. You can't come back and do it over and over again for whatever reason. I guess to prevent scalpers or something, or to maybe just keep people moving along and not loitering there all day. I'm sure they have some reason for doing it that way. I mean, I didn't really care because I wasn't planning to do that anyways, but I bought a master grade Gundam kit, which I have not built yet because I'm behind, but maybe in future Wednesday streams I will be building it, because I have a backlog of about 17 Gundam kits stacked under my desk right now. But yeah, I got a RX-78, which I think RX-78, that's the original one, right? Because I've been meaning to get one, and they had like an exclusive master grade RX-78. Or no, it wasn't even a master grade. I think it was a special grade. Like it's basically a master grade, but it's kind of like an ungraded kit, because it's like the exclusive Gundam factory one. And back in I ate the bean. It was good. How was it, like a savory bean, or was it a sweet bean? But yeah, speaking of sweet things, we had some cool Gundam themed drinks. I got the strawberry one, and it was tasty. And then yeah, the sun was kind of starting to set. You can see there. So we then proceeded to wander around Yokohama a bit, and we went to the Super Don Quixote. So it tastes like a sour with a hint of vinegar. That doesn't sound too tasty. I might die. Well, please don't die for eating the bean. Maybe it has bean resurrecting powers. Maybe it's like Jack's bean. Maybe a beanstalk will grow out of you, and you'll become the bean that reaches the giants. But Don Quixote is like the Japanese version of Walmart and Target and like all that stuff, and Best Buy all combined, right? I need a sensu bean. Oh, that's a good bean. Everybody loves a sensu bean. I saw no sensu beans in Japan, unfortunately. Not even at the Don Quixote that we were at, which was quite cool. So, Mega Don Quixote. We needed some stuff. Namely, we needed some small bags to carry our change and our passports and our phones and stuff, and all of our temporary batteries that we carried. So, everything's in this place. Electronics, groceries are downstairs. Just there's a pharmacy, right? It's your typical mega store, and it's really cool because you see a bunch of stuff here that you don't see in your home country if you're a foreigner, and it's all really cheap because the dollar is stronger than the yen, and also Japanese stuff just isn't as overpriced as a lot of American stuff. Taking a sip of my water there, my throat's starting to hurt already, and I have like 100 slides to go. So I bought a little fanny pack. I didn't wear it as a fanny pack, I wore it as a cross bag, and we bought some other stuff. We wandered around looking for English shirts was what we wanted, because you know how like in America there'll be shirts that have like Chinese writing on them or Japanese writing or whatever foreign language writing, and it's always a joke of like, well, what does that say? Does that say just like dumb foreigner, or does that just say something that makes no sense? So we were like, let's try and find some shirts that say just dumb English phrases. Should have taken some selfies with store products. We did take a bunch of selfies with store products. I don't have pictures of them in this slideshow. No, I don't. But I have some on my Discord and on Twitter. I think I posted some. I'm trying to remember what some of them said. I know one of them said like, it had like in big letters like Arrow Magna, right? But it just looked like it said Arrow Manga, right? Like that weird like Brocon anime, just in huge letters, and we're like in English letters, right? Is that like Arrow Magna, but it looked like Arrow Manga, and that was kind of funny. Oh, we did find some typo shirts. There was a coffee shirt that said like original brand with an R instead of an L, which was pretty cool. I bought that for my sister. I think my friend bought the Arrow Magna shirt. I think we saw a couple other ones. There's a Japanese clothing brand called, I think, Ball, I think it was called. So there's a lot of shirts that just say Ball on them, which was kind of funny. I was like, oh, the Ball shirt. It's stupid, right? I mean, we're stupid, but it's funny. I bought a hoodie that said Combat Sports on it. It just says Adidas Combat Sports, which isn't really a mistranslation of anything, right? Like a combat sport is like karate, right? But I've never seen in America a shirt that just says Combat Sport. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna get the Combat Sport hoodie, which actually coincidentally, the Combat Sport Adidas hoodie was the hoodie that I wore on my half marathon last week. So that was kind of a little callback to last week. So I got some good use out of that Combat Sport sweater hoodie. There was a few other shirts, but I can't really remember any of the funny ones. There was some, there was a Calvin Klein shirt. I definitely posted this one on Twitter. That just had like, it was such an asshole design shirt, how they had it written out. It like how they had the letters arranged. It looked like it said Cat Lennon Klein, right? Because they had the letters all like staggered and weird, and it looked so dumb, but it was great. I definitely took a picture of that one. I'll post that again on Discord or something if somebody wants to see it. But yeah, Don Quixote was awesome. We spent like 2 hours in there, at least, maybe longer. And then we went out. So this was the Yokohama Motomachi shopping district or street. And this is like a French style like shopping area. And it has a lot of like really high end like jewelry stores and stuff. Most of it was closed. We were hungry. Cat lining clen. Exactly. It literally says like cat lining clen because it was just designed badly. I almost bought it, but I didn't. I should have. It was cheap. But I was in my head, I was thinking I was being budget conscious then I ended up spending like $2,000 on other stuff. But yeah, this was nighttime by now. Most things are closed. We were looking for food. We hadn't eaten anything, I think. I don't think we had lunch. I think we had breakfast in the morning at the hotel. We had the hotel zombie breakfast, and then we didn't have lunch, so we were starving at this point. We found a little cafe that was open. So I'm showing my little sidebar. Let me hide that. Here was the cafe that we went to. The cafe was like, it was kind of cool. There was like one guy working there, and he did everything, right? He was the host. Oh, Skillety, hey, how's it going? Cute model, thank you. Chance made it. I think they're credited. I might credit their old Twitter. I need to update it. But thanks for coming. But yeah, this was the meal I got on the first night, the first proper meal I got. So I had some, I think, oolong tea. And Japan loves to do this with like grapes, right? Because fruit is one of the things that's a lot more expensive in Japan compared to like America. Because I think it's just because the importing of fruit, right? They have to import it, and there's a lot more fruit imported to America, so it's it's cheaper. Oh, hey Trick, how's it going? Love to see you hopping in. But yeah, there was, I think, 2 or 3 places that did this as a dessert. Just 2 big, huge, giant grapes. That's what you got at a cafe. Yeah, it's like kind of like it was very scenic. It was like a bar you kind of see in a bar cafe in an anime, right? And there was an older gentleman wearing, he was very well dressed. He had a vest on, like a dress vest on, and he was very proper. Older Japanese gentleman. And then as you can see from like the table, it kind of had like this, cafe style decor. And there was a bunch of like Gundam and like old retro anime memorabilia around the place, which was cool. Like there's like old lunch boxes and like old posters and like old action figures. I don't remember the name of this place because we just kind of wandered into it, right? And I didn't write it down. I could probably, I tried to find it, but I remember having trouble finding it. But what I ate was fruit is a gift item in Japan, so it's prized way more. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got. Like that, it was like, this is like a nice thing that you should appreciate. And the grapes were good. They were really big. You can't really get a good like perspective of it, but they were fat. They were some big old fat grapes. I mean, I wanted like chocolate or something more, but I was like, yeah, I'll eat 2 grapes. I'm used to, in America eating grapes by the handful for like a couple bucks, but yeah, they're good. They were chilled too, which is nice. So I got this little lotus root, I think, like thing, which was whatever, and then it was a chicken eggplant kind of thing, right? With like a sweet kind of, I don't think, it wasn't like teriyaki, but it was like kind of a sweet sauce with like a smashed chicken, right? It was like hammered, I guess, and then eggplant, which eggplant's eggplant, and then tea. I think it was probably oolong. It was good. I don't remember what my friend got, but it was a nice meal. I enjoyed it. Nothing too interesting though. Here's another picture of Yokohama that I thought was kind of cool, because Yokohama has these canals running through it all over the place that are they're just cool, right? They're just cool. There's bridges to go over them. Yokohama also has the biggest Chinatown in Japan, I think, and one of the biggest Chinatowns, like, period, outside of China, which we did not go to, but it looks really cool. Another point for Yokohama, and another reason I recommend it, is just because it has all these cool things in it. Yokohama's so cool. You should see the farms they have in Japan where they grade the quality of fruit. It's so cool. That does sound cool. Everything in Japan is very like extra. Like, they take everything very seriously, and they keep their things to a very high standard, which is just really cool to see, and just part of the reason it's such an awesome country. I had a picture here, but it was a selfie, so I took it out. The next morning we walked to a small cafe that a friend recommended. That friend is Monkay, Monkay on Twitter. They're an artist that some of you might be familiar with. So they recommended this cafe to me, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty close to my hotel. We'll walk to it. So we walked about 20 minutes to it before we headed out of Haneda on this is the morning of the second day, right? And here's the picture of the cafe, what we got in it. It was kind of in like a businessy area, and it was on the bottom floor of like a hotel or a business. I think it was a business, like little skyscraper, like not skyscraper, but a little tall building. And this is the drink I got. I think it was like a milk oolong tea, and it was funny because there was it's like an older couple that owns and works here, right? And the older woman was very much liked my little Zephy like doll. She was like, she saw me taking a picture of him in front of the drink, and she's like, no, come here. And she was like pointing to this spot here with all the little like the little barrels, and she's like, take a picture of him here, take a picture of him here. And she like was like, oh no, take a picture of him here. And she was like putting him around, and then she was like, I'm gonna take a picture of you. And like, it was very cute. They were very, very sweet. It was just they had good drinks. They seemed like they were unfortunately out of a lot of stuff when we went. We went kind of a bit later in the morning, I would say, like 9 or something, 8 or 9. So they didn't have a lot of stuff in stock but it was still very nice. They had good drinks. They were very sweet, very cool. So then from there, we hit the train to, we went to one of the big stations in Tokyo. I don't remember which one it was. It might have been the, I don't know. It's not important. We went to a big major like hub station to get our bullet train JR passes. So we got the JR pass for 7 days, which is a rail pass that you can use on some local trains, and you can use it on the bullet trains is the big thing. It was quite expensive. I think the JR pass was like $200, somewhere around there. So it's hard to make it worth it, honestly, because you can just buy a bullet train ticket. So you have to kind of use it a good amount, and you only get it for 7 days, and it's like close to $200, I think. It used to be cheaper, but they raised the price recently. I did the math, and it was pretty equal. We saved a little bit of money by using the JR Pass, but the nice thing about the JR Pass is that it takes out the stress of having to buy tickets. So you just go and get your JR Pass once, and then you can use it for 7 days, and you don't have to like on the bullet train back. It's like we just walked onto a bullet train, right? And we didn't have to deal with anything. So it's worth it to take the stress out of it. If you're gonna, I recommend if you are considering using it to do the math, look at what the cost of the trains will be during the 7 days that you're gonna be there, and do the math and see if it'll be worth it. And you can't use it for all lines. Like a lot of the smaller local lines will not have a JR line, but a lot of the ones in Tokyo and stuff will have JR lines, so it can be worth it. But again, do the math. So we got on the bullet train, which, if you don't know, most of you, everyone probably has heard of a bullet train. It's a mega fast train. They're all over Japan, because Japan's actually a modern nation, unlike freaking America, which is living in the 18th century. But they're super fast, really smooth. The tickets are, expensive. They're closer to a cheap airline ticket, like $100 or something. But like $100 to go across the country in like an hour is pretty awesome. Yeah, like the Nagoya one, I think, was going like 200 miles an hour. And there are faster ones. That's not even the fastest one. I think there's ones that go like upwards of 300. So hopped on the train, because we were going to Nagoya, just passing through Nagoya to our real destination, which was Gifu. But before hitting the bullet train, we needed to get lunch. So it's wild how they innovate so much, and the US just doesn't. Yeah, because every time the US tries to do something or build something, everyone just like protests it and like NIMBYs it and like does committees and gets it all canceled and like gets the project's budgets funded or cut. But we got bento boxes, because in the train stations they have little stores that sell bentos, and we were running a bit late, so we had to just run to like the first store we saw, and I was like, I can't read Japanese. My friend speaks a little Japanese and reads a little, but he's a bit slower on it. But he did a great job. Like, he talked to a bunch of people. He should be proud of himself for that. But I don't read any Japanese. I had the translator apps and stuff, but it was, suffice to say, there was a bunch of bentos. I couldn't read them. I grabbed one that had a picture of a chicken on it, because I don't eat beef, and I generally avoid pork. I don't like to eat pork. Like if you put like a gun to my head, I'll eat beef and pork, but I don't like to eat beef and pork. I don't like to eat mammals. Just a personal thing. So I just grabbed one that had a picture of a chicken on it, right? And it was like a chicken box, but it had something in it, and I'll describe what it was like to eat it first, and you might know what it is, and then I'll tell you what it was after. There were these little things about the size of like a what's a good analog for them? Like a not as big as like a paintball, not as big as bigger than like an airsoft pellet, but smaller than a paintball. I'm looking around my room for things that are small balls, and I'm gonna stop right there before I say anything else. They were these little tiny things, they're smaller than like a penny. They're little like things, and like they were like kind of gooey-ish, and they had like a white filmy kind of ness, and they had like a little black part in the center, and they were kind of chewy and like kind of gross. back. I just suffered from the consequences of the beans. Oh no. Well, I'm talking about something weird that I just ate. They were weird. And the closest thing I can describe them to is like a tadpole, right? And I was like, what the hell am I eating? And there was a ton of them. There were so many of them. Like tapioca. Way more gross than that. and so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what is this stuff? And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, this is a chicken box. Are these like, and it's dumb. It's really dumb. But here's what I was thinking. I was thinking, are these chicken fetuses? Obviously chickens don't have fetuses, for one. They have embryos and eggs, right? But I was like, are these like little tiny, like some sort of weird bird fetus? Because that's what they looked and tasted and were like, right? Oh, hey, Snack. Thought the stream was on Twitch. No, yeah, this is our first YouTube Twitch. I showed your Zephy urban outfit art a little earlier in the stream. Your yellow jacket one, and people liked that. But yeah, I was like, what the heck are these? What am I eating? Are these bird fetuses? And so I was like frantically, I ate a bunch of them. I don't know. I just was hungry. I ate a bunch of them. I'm like, these are gross. I hate these. They're not that gross, actually. They were, what were they? They were like clams or something, or oysters. They were some sort of like fish related thing, like clams or oysters, but they were super gross. I was like, these are nasty. I hate these. I will never eat. Like, I think they were clams or something, but they were weird. They looked like little bird fetuses, and that's what I thought they were. So I was kind of freaking out, but they were just clams. My bento was nasty. I've heard people really enjoy the train station bentos. I think I just picked a bad one. My sister really enjoyed them when she had them. But yeah, I had a bad lunch that day. But here's where we were going on the train. So it's quite a long way. It's from Tokyo to Gifu with a stop. If you can see here, it goes from blue to orange because this was where we had to change. We had to do a train change. And it's 3.5 hours. Is that right? I mean, that's what it says, so it must be. It didn't feel like that long. It felt really quick. And it was a beautiful ride. You're kind of along the coast, you're along the mountains, you can see Mount Fuji, you pass right by Mount Fuji and you can see it out the window. It's a great, train ride. Smooth, lovely. We stopped in Nagoya, we got off and we transferred to a slower train to get to Gifu because we didn't stay in Nagoya at all. We went to Gifu. This is Gifu. So Gifu is famous for Gifu Castle, which was one of I believe it was the second castle of Oda Nobunaga, who's like idolized in Japan. They freaking love Oda Nobunaga, and he's a warlord from the Sengoku period, I think. So this is the top of Gifu Castle, and if you can see on my mouse right here, you can see there's like a big kind of building right here. It's kind of hard to see, but this is our hotel where we were staying. So we got to Nagoya, then we got to Gifu, we stayed the night. And the next day we walked up here, to Gifu Castle. So this is where we started, down here, that way by the river, right? And we hiked to the base of the mountain, then we hiked all the way up the mountain. There's a tram, but we didn't want to take it. We wanted to walk the whole way because I was like, I want to feel what it would be like to attack this castle, just dumb stuff like that. Like I want to like role play that I'm like an enemy spy climbing up this mountain to get to this castle. So that's what we did. I'll come back to that in a second. Because we did some stuff before that. Mainly we got to this old town. You can kind of see some of the roofs of the old buildings here, by the water, Gifu. So Gifu is well known for cormorant fishing, and cormorant fishing, a cormorant is a type of bird that will obviously eat fish. They're big. They're like kind of like an egret looking bird, like a cross between a duck and an egret. And in cormorant fishing, I think what they do is they then like pull the fish out of the bird's throats, which is kind of weird, but it's an old tradition. It's kind of cool. Gifu is heavily cormorant decorated and themed, like the sewer grates on the streets are like cormorant like designed, which that's another interesting thing about Japan is all or at least most of them, the ones that I saw, their sewer grates are decorated. They have with patterns. They'll have like a flower or something related to the city that they're in, which is really cool. And I think that's just very indicative of Japan. It's such a Japanese thing where it's like, they have this thing that is there to serve a purpose. It's a utilitarian thing. It's a sewer grate, or a manhole cover, I guess you could say, would be a little more accurate. And they just go the little extra mile to craft it into something, right? They take the time and they think about it. I think that's very indicative of kind of the Japanese way of running things, is they put thought into things, and they're like, this is a utilitarian thing, but let's make it nice and let's make it cool. And yeah, it's just cool. It's really cool to see the extra effort that they put into everything. So here was our hotel. It was the Gifu Ryokan. And if you don't know, Ryokan is like a traditional style Japanese inn. Basically, it's a hotel where they take a little extra care of you. So this hotel was $158 a night. Our first hotel was $76 a night. This place is $158 a night. This hotel was amazing. This hotel was so cool. I highly, 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 highly recommend, if you're ever in Gifu or near Gifu or in Nagoya, to go to this place. It's the Gifu Ryokan. It is so cool, and I will continue to talk about how cool it is with a bunch of pictures. But first, so you can see the little man. Well, he's a normal sized man. He just looks small in the picture. That's how much my friends make an hour selling feet pics. Nice, good to know. But super cheap, right? $158 a night for a resort style hotel is very affordable, and for the quality of this place is incredible. This place is amazing. So you go in, they're very what's the word I'm looking for? They're very much waiting on you. The staff, they're very I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but they take care of you, and they watch, and they're like, oh, do you need anything? And like when we first entered, they assigned somebody to you to give you kind of a tour and like a rundown. And this was a thing that I think is typical to ryokans, because another I think I've convinced you to go to Japan. You should, absolutely. They did this at the other ryokan as well. They kind of give you a tour. So it was a little Japanese lady, and she had her little script, which was very cute. And she was like, her English was pretty good, but she was, nervous about, speaking English and all that. But she was following her script, and like sometimes she'd have to just stop and like just stare at her paper for like 30 seconds and then be like, hi, and then continue going, which was very fun and kind of cute because she had to just like figure out what she was saying. But she toured us around the lobby, which this was part of the lobby, and so you can see here's a cormorant, actually a stuffed cormorant. A big lobby area. This is just a small corner of it, and they had they have wine, water, popsicles, and some other stuff just out all the time, and they're like, bottomless wine, come drink it. I don't know if it was alcoholic wine. I couldn't tell. I had some of it. Like I took advantage of it a few times. I didn't feel tipsy or anything, so I think it might have been non-alcoholic wine, but they had just wine and water and popsicles, and they're like, yeah, take as much as you want. There's a lot more to this lobby. This is the only picture I took, but beautiful place. This was the hallways to the rooms. So the entire place was decorated like in some way or form. A lot of the hallways looked like this, where they had like little like things like on display on little thing like little shelves, or like they'd have pictures, and it all had this style, like glazing on the walls, and it had like atmospheric lighting, and this whole place smelled like incense, right? They were burning incense through this whole hotel. It smelled heavily of incense, because this is a bathhouse hotel, our bathhouse ryokan. I think I have a bath in the next picture, and okay, the bath is coming up. The bath is coming soon. I have a lot to say about the baths. So this was just the hallway. Beautiful hallways. Here was the room. Gorgeous room. Look, like so clean, so beautiful. We were right on the water. Wonderful beds. A little bit of tatami mat and like the beautiful wood. They also had a lot of these places had Japanese style rooms as well, where they have futons instead of beds. And what they'll do is they will during the daytime, you'll have all open floor space, and then at night they will send somebody to set up your futon for you, right? I did a European style bed for this just because whatever. Here was our view from the window of our room. This is oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the river. But it's a river. It's the river that goes through Gifu. And you can actually see, I should vlog my next trip to Japan. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'd be good at vlogging though. I just tried to take a bunch of pictures, but you can see down here, here's this kind of open boat. This is a cormorant fishing boat. So supposedly they take these out and do cormorant fishing sometimes. And this is like kind of like a tourist boat right here. So they'll, pack the boat full of tourists and then they'll do cormorant fishing on the river. They didn't do it when I was there. Maybe it was not in season or something. But across from us, there was like this big, it looked like a sports park complex. I spent some time kind of like just trying to figure out what it was. This is clearly like some sort of field right here, like a baseball field or a football field, or like football as in European football, soccer field, not like American style football. These were also sports buildings, and there was also some other small fields. There was like a track field over here too. So this was some sort of like sports complex kind of thing. But this was the view from our hotel room, right? So this is what the hotel room looked like. Here was our view. So then there was the baths. So before coming to Japan, as an American, bathhouses are not a thing in America. They exist. There are some of them, but they are kind of stigmatized. They were highly stigmatized during the AIDS epidemic of the 90s, 80s, 70s, a while back, where basically there was a lot of propaganda saying that bathhouses were like spreading AIDS like wildfire, and like, no, you shouldn't go to bathhouses, and they're like places for like depravity and whatever. Which maybe in some of them they were, but it's largely a propaganda thing. And so bathhouses aren't really a thing in America anymore. There used to be some. They were never hugely popular either, but like San Francisco used to have a lot of bathhouses, or at least a couple, which are all demolished or derelict now. And it also kind of wouldn't work in America, just because of how American culture is. I feel like people aren't as considerate about their cleanliness. But obviously bathhouses are a thing in Japan and a lot of Asian countries as well. So the idea of taking all of your clothes off with a bunch of strangers and sitting in an open air bath outside as an American is a bit off-putting. Right? Because we don't have that cultural part of our culture. It's a little redundant, isn't it? It's not part of our culture, right? Because in most bathhouses, you are not allowed to wear clothes, and you are not allowed to wear a swimsuit, and you are not allowed to have a towel, right? So I was thinking, and I was like, that sounds kind of scary. And also I was thinking, since I was going with my friend, I was like, I don't really want to see my friend's balls. Like, we're good friends, but we're not that close of friends. Like, he's not like one of my best friends. Yeah, I'd be too shy. That's what I thought as well. But my friend, so I did not make contact with anyone. Yeah. So we got there. And I was talking to my friend, and I said, hey, do you think you're going to do the bathhouse? And he's like, no way. He's like, I'm too, like, I don't want to do that. It's not my jam. I'm like, fair. But I sure as hell am, because I'd seen this hotel. Well, to be fair, I wouldn't even want to see my friends naked. Yeah. There are some friends that I'd be like, yo, that's my boy. Like, let's hop in here. Like, but I'm not that close with this friend. He's a good friend, but he's not like one of the boys, right? But yeah, we're good friends, suffice to say. But yeah, I didn't want to see his balls, dick and balls, to be fair. But he was like, I'm not going to go. So I'm like, okay, that's one problem gone. I don't have to worry about seeing him. Just because it would be awkward, right? We're already sharing a room. It'd be even more awkward. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go in this place because I was so impressed by the rest of the hotel. I'm like, I'm going to go in this freaking bathhouse. So all these pictures of the bathhouse are from Google Images, because I obviously could not take pictures in the bathhouse for obvious reasons, but this is accurate to what it looked like. These are the rooms, and this is what it looked like. So the how they do it, they had two bathhouse like floors. There's a first floor and a second floor one. And so in the morning, it was like one of them would have men only in the morning, and then the second floor would have women only, and then halfway through the day they would swap them, right? So that you could have an opportunity to go to both. And they would change the colors of the curtains hanging in front of the locker rooms depending on if they were in boy mode or girl mode, right? So you could kind of look at both of them, because there's several baths in these bathhouses. So you go in these locker rooms, and obviously this is a beautiful locker room, right? When you think locker room, you think of like high school locker room in America with the metal lockers with the bench in the middle and the Axe body spray like caked, or the Axe deodorant caked onto the walls. This is beautiful, like tatami mat floors, these all wooden. They had all these like counters with like sinks and like shampoos and like razors and combs and, you know, different hygiene products and toothbrushes, I think, and stuff. So I came down here and I stripped down. I got a towel, and I wrapped it around my waist. You cannot bring the towel into the tub, but I was like, I'm gonna at least bring the towel to the edge of the tub, because I'm not feeling too comfortable just walking butt-ass naked through this locker room. So I wrapped the towel around it. So, and then I went to, so in the bathrooms, I guess? Yeah, I guess bathrooms. You're supposed to be completely clean before you enter the bath, right? The baths are not meant to clean the dirt from you, right? Because they're community baths. They're not like a bath in your home. So, and they have, before you go in and in the hotel rooms, they have pamphlets that give you all the etiquette, and they teach you about the bathhouses and what they mean and blah, blah, blah. So I knew what I was doing. I did my research before coming down, because I wanted to do it right. So they have all these little stalls, and they have tons of soap options, right? That's more soap than I have in my bathroom. There's baby wipes, and there's 6 different things. There's like conditioner, shampoo, face soap, body soap, whatever, all these different soaps. So you strip down, you sit on these little benches, and you clean yourself with the shower head. You soap up, you lather up. So I did that, and then you can go to the bath. So this is the flagship bath, and I just want you to look at it and just kind of look at it. Look at this place. It is insane. It is so beautiful. So this is in an old storeroom is what this is. This is a storehouse. You can see from the ceiling and the walls. This is an old restored building that used to like be for storing like grain or whatever. And there's something about like the glass up here too. It's like a imported European like glass thing from which stock photo did you take this from? I don't know. It looks better in person. It looks so good. And like the stained glass reflects on the surface of the water, and like look, there's more of these shower stalls in here. And the outside is open, right? So you can see the river. And you're on like the 2nd or 3rd floor, so people can't really see in. I mean, if people are across the room in a building with binoculars, I guess they could see in if they wanted to, but I wasn't worried about that. There's kind of trees blocking them too, but you got the nice fresh air from the river wafting in. And this water is interesting because if you look, the picture's a little blurry, but you can kind of see the water is clear when it's coming out of the fountain in the middle, but it is brown in the water. And the reason it's brown is because I believe this water is from a natural hot spring in the mountain, and it has a high, I think, iron content or some other mineral. So the water is actually brown with the mineral. And for some reason, when the water is flowing, it's clear, but when it's sedentary, the mineral does something and makes it brown. So this is like some sort of mineral bath, right? This is beautiful, right? But this isn't the only one. There's also this freaking one on the other floor. Did you feel your skin get smoother? I did. This is another hot spring bath. You can kind of see again the brownish water, and then they have this kind of like jacuzzi-ish one. And look, you can see this one's like more outdoors and in this beautiful yard. I mean, like, look at this freaking, it's so cool. When I saw the pictures of this, I'm like, all right, I'd get butt-ass naked for this. This is the only way you're going to get me butt-ass naked outside, because you're basically outside, right? Again, this is like, you're suspended like on the 2nd or 3rd floor here. This is like an overhang on the side of the building. So here's another one that was in the place. Here is on the other side. They had three, I think 2 or 3 of these baths. They're not as pretty, but I liked these ones because they weren't as hot. The other ones were very, very hot, so I couldn't stand them for very long. And you're not supposed to stand them for too long. But each of these baths is a different type of water as well. So this one that you can see here on the right is a herbal infusion bath. And you can see here, there's like a metal box right here. And if you open this metal box, there's essentially a giant like tea bag in there full of herbs. And so you're basically essentially steeping in a giant tea. So I like this water a lot because it was like really smelled very good and was like kind of oily and like really oily doesn't sound good, but it was. You can kind of see one of the other baths out here too. Then also, yeah, here was this was the 3 baths in one of them, and this was the 3 baths in the other one, right? Because there's 2 floors. So the one of these is the herb one. I think it's this one. One of them is something else. I can't remember what this one was. It had some sort of special thing. And then this one is called the Silky Bath, which uses like ultrasonic vibration or something to make the water like bubble but in really small bubbles. So it's like kind of milky, right? But it's milky because of the bubbles, not because of the water, right? Because it's got a bunch of like micro bubbles. I really like the Silky Bath. One, because you couldn't see in it if you're in it, right? These are clear, and this one is not. Also, I think the Silky Bath was the least hot one because they were really hot. Oh, I even said, I should read my own writing. There's a herbal bath, a mineral bath, and a silk bath. So this one's like the mineral, this one's the herb, this one's the silky. And one thing they recommend is to take a towel and put cold water on it and then put the towel on your head, which is, I did that and it did help. It was helpful because these baths are really freaking hot and you can't stand them for too long and you're not supposed to. So yeah, this isn't even all of them. There was a bunch of, there was this one that you can't even really see. There was one more over here that I didn't get a picture of, I think, but this is most of them. But this is all in one hotel. So yeah, these and need our like let me remind you how much this place cost. $158 a night. Here's the room for a 2-person room. So we split that. $158. And here's the view. Here's the baths. Like that I just have to gush about this place. So good. So cool. So beautiful. So affordable. I mean, $158 is still a lot, but I mean, that's the cost of a Holiday Inn in America, right? And the baths are free. And they're open like all day and late into the night, and you can go as many times as you want. So yeah, that was the Gifu Ryokan. But what else did we do in Gifu? So this is the street that the Gifu Ryokan is on. It's on an old-fashioned, like, historic street. And look, you can kind of see there's some modern buildings in here. There wasn't really anything going on in this area, though. We walked around and we tried to see... oh, and here's an example of the fancy manhole coverings like I was talking about. See, it's got like a design on it. You can't really see it, but there's like a bird there. But this was such a cool area, but everything was closed and weird. I don't know. They just weren't really doing anything. But it was beautiful town, beautiful area. It was kind of late. One thing we did notice that in America, you can kind of always find stuff open, right? I feel like in Japan, it was a bit of a culture thing where it was sometimes hard to find restaurants that were open when we wanted to eat. Because I feel like a lot of the restaurants aren't open for as long, right? They don't open as early in the morning and they don't stay open for as long, right? So it wasn't as easy for us to always find food. We went to Natural Cafe on the night we got there. I thought I had pictures of it. I guess not. It was like a weird kind of like Indian, Chinese, Asian food hybrid place. The food was fine. And then the next night we went to a Chinese restaurant. And that was also good. It's a well-known Chinese chain. It has like a peach as the logo. I don't remember what it was called, but some people might know what it is. I cracked my phone screen at the Chinese restaurant, like pretty badly. It's still cracked. I'm looking at the cracks right now. I bumped into a table and I shattered my screen, but whatever. You know, casualties occurred. So after the bath adventure in the evening, this was now the next morning. So you can see here a statue of a lady in a fountain. And this was about a half-mile walk from our hotel, the statue. But if you look way up there in the distance, you can see Gifu Castle on top of the mountain. And you can kind of see these like poles. And I think one of these is for the cable car maybe or something. So that's where we had to go, and that's where we had to walk. So we started our walk, we started our hike. We walked around. There's a bunch of museums and stuff around the base of Gifu Mountain. It's not called Gifu Mountain, it's called something else. Mount Kinka. It's written right there. Again, I should read my own writing. Mount Kinka has a bunch of like museums and stuff. I'll get to them later. And it also had oh shoot, I should have ordered this better. Rewind a little bit. We woke up that morning after the baths. We were gonna go to the castle that afternoon. We needed breakfast. We needed fuel for our castle expedition. For our siege of the castle, we needed breakfast, and we had already had trouble finding restaurants. So we're like, where are we gonna find food? So we went to this place that was called the Rustico. We enter, this is the building. The entrance is in the back. We tried to open this door, it didn't work. It was embarrassing. There were people in there eating, they looked at us, looked like we were idiots. When we were, but there weren't any signs, to be fair. It doesn't say use other door. So, and even if it did, it would have been in Japanese. But the entrance is in the back. We found the entrance. We go into the Rustico Cafe. We enter it, and there is a typical cafe glass counter, like you normally see in a cafe, full of pastries. And there is a woman, a cafe attendant? What do you call somebody who works in a cafe? Not a barista, I guess a waitress or a host. A host, I'll call her a host. The host came out, and she spoke very little English, because Gifu is a little more rural. It's a little more out of the way, so there's a lot less English literacy than compared to Tokyo. But at this point, I pointed to my friend and I said, take it from here. Like, you know Japanese, even though you're not confident. He was not confident, but he did an amazing job. He's very hard on himself. I was like, talk to her in Japanese. And he had his little translator out too. He didn't need it, but he used it. He was talking to her back and forth a little while. And he like turned to me and I was like, so what's the deal? Like, do we sit down? And he's like, she told me that we just order a drink and then we get 5 pastries. And I was like, what? No, that can't be real. I was like, sorry, you must have mistranslated. And he's like, that's what I thought. I'm like, ask her again. He's like, all right. He asked her again, and she's like, she's getting a little, not frustrated, but a little like distressed at this point, right? Because she's trying to get across this message and we're not getting it. He's talking to her and he's like, no, that's what she said. She said, you just order a drink here and then you get pastries. And I'm like, no, dude, the drinks are like $3. These pastries look amazing. And he was like, that's what she said. And I was like, well, what do we do? And like, by this point, like another, a pair of older Japanese ladies had come in and were like also waiting to get seated. They were very polite and smiling, and they were clapping when my friend was trying to speak Japanese, and they're like, oh, good job. Like, it was very sweet. But I'm like, we don't want to hold up the line. Like, these lovely people. Let's just do what she said and see what happens. So I'm like, I want like a milk oolong. And then my friend ordered his drink, and we're like, all right, well, we want food. Are they gonna, I don't know, maybe they'll give us a menu when we sit down. So she takes us into the back after we do our drink order, and she sits us down at these tables. The cafe's full, and it's like a little quaint. It's very quaint. We sit down, we get our 2 drinks, we were drinking in them, and we're like, so when do we get to order our pastries? And then out comes a couple plates. Here was my plate. So, this was $5 for the drink, and it came with the pastries. And the crazy thing is, my friend got a plate of different pastries, and I looked around, everybody had a different plate of pastries. So I got a quiche, a full egg quiche, and you can't really see But these are not just bread. They kind of look like just bread, but they're not. This is this was like, it has like, it looks like almost like an everything bagel, but it had like, it was a bit more sweet and it had a bunch of like grains and things in it. I don't know what it was. Hey Lizzie, lovely for you to stop in. But this was a quiche. This was like a everything thing. This was a big old hunkin' piece of, I think it was milk bread. I think it was like shokupan with a big old slab of butter on it. This was like a, almost like a bagel, but not quite. And it had like a big piece of like soft cheese in it. This here you can kind of see was like a big almond bread thing. This was like a half croissant of like, and had nuts. Like all the stuff was not as simple as it looks because I kind of took a bad angle of the picture. But like this was full of like nuts and sweets and fruits and stuff. This was like a normal baguette with like this tomato paste on it. So we got just this smorgasbord of like incredible pastries. These were so good. They were still warm. It was so good. And it was $5. It's so weird. You just order a drink at this place and they bring you, the chef just picks out, or the pastetier? I don't know, patissier? What do you call a pastry maker? They pick out the pastries for you. You don't get to pick. I think you can pick if you're just like taking orders for go, but they're just like, I'm gonna give you this and this and this and this. It's like chef's choice, which is so cool. It was such a cool idea. And like, I'm probably getting this across to you in my voice and how just like over the top I'm being with this. The fact that this was like less than $5. It wasn't $5. It was less than $5. It was like $4.10 or something for a drink. And not a normal drink. This is like an oolong tea with like sugar and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pastries and a little bit of lettuce. And this was like a potato thing, I think, or like radish or something. I know I'm lingering this on for a long time, but I hope I'm getting this through to you. This, how amazing this place was and how delicious the food was. Oh my God. It was good. It was so cool. I was blown away. We ate this. It stuck with me. I'll remember this till the day I die. Gifu, man, oh man, Gifu. The freaking, from the hot springs to this freaking pastry place. Man. Anyways, onward to siege Gifu Castle. So we head towards Mount Kinka. We're heading towards Mount Kinka. It's about a mile and a half or something. We're walking through the streets of Gifu, the old streets of Gifu, then to the more newer streets of Gifu with some kind of very ugly old apartment buildings. But then we come across this garden. And I'm thinking to myself, this looks kind of Chinese. Is this Chinese? I read the sign that says, the Chinese Friendship Garden. I'm like, 2 thumbs up. I recognize Chinese architecture over Japanese architecture. I'm very proud of myself. In retrospect, it's pretty easy to tell. This is not a Japanese style kind of pagoda thing. Taking a sip of water. I thought it was cool. I was like, I'm so cool. I knew this was Chinese. It's not even, but Chinese Friendship Garden. There was a waterfall in it. I took a picture at the waterfall. Very beautiful. Now, time to siege Mount Kinka. Gifu Castle will be ours. We're going up the mountain to the trail. Thank you, whoever just subscribed. I don't know who you are because my notifications aren't set up right, but thank you. We're heading towards the trail. We're walking on the trail. It says the medium trail. There's a sign to the left that says advanced trail. Me and my friend look each other. We meet each other in the eyes from across the dirt trail between the trees, and we know right away just by looking at each other's eyes that we are taking the advanced trail. Under no circumstances would we be taking no baby beginner normal trail. We're not baby beginner normals. We're advanced warriors that are going to siege Mount Kinka. Gifu Castle will be ours. The advanced trail. We must go. So we head up to the advanced trail. It starts out like a normal trail. We're walking up the trail. We're like, this is easy. It continues to get steeper and steeper, and then suddenly the trail kind of just disappears. And they're just kind of flags just up the side of a mountain hill, and we're like, I guess this is the advanced trail. Makes sense. So here's an example. This is the trail, and I don't know how well it kind of perspective works. This is like a straight up sheer rock face. This is the trail, and you have to just climb that. And we're like, oh hell yeah, right? I mean, some people will see that and be like, no, what the fuck? But we're like, oh, hell yeah. we're gonna climb this mountain. So we climb the mountain. We're climbing the rock face. It's not that hard, you know. It's hard maybe if you are clumsy or, you know, not good at climbing. Here's another section. You can kind of see what I mean by like there's just kind of like ropes and flags, and you're just like it's very much a tripping hazard. You could not have this in America because some idiot would twist their, well, not necessarily an idiot, I take that back. Some person would twist their ankle and then sue the city or something. But yeah, it's just like a straight up, you climb through the roots, climb through the rocks. And then, so we do that for a while, maybe for an hour. We get to the top. There is Gifu Castle, beautiful Gifu Castle on the top of the mountain, Mount Kinka. Go to the top. We took that picture earlier. Gifu Castle is cool. There's a little museum up there. I took a picture with the fake Oda Nobunaga. Yeah, Gifu Castle, beautiful, wonderful, awesome, cool, recommended. Bottom of Gifu Castle Mountain, Gifu Mountain Castle, Kinka Mountain, Mount Kinka. Bottom of Mount Kinka, there's a big old museum, the Gifu City Museum. It was all right. If you're in the area and need something to do, it's aight. It's, you know, there's some old like battlefield stuff in there. It's whatever. It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. This is not. It sounds like I'm giving it a bad review, but yeah, it's fine. Next to Gifu City Museum is, I don't have a picture of the outside, but there's a bug museum. And the bug museum was a little expensive. It was like 10, 15 bucks to get in, which is expensive for Japan. But it's cool. There's like a billion bugs in there, butterflies and things, all taxidermied, and some live bugs. If you like bugs, there's a bunch of bugs in there. I was disappointed they did not have, we got an NPC egg. What's an NPC egg? They did not have very many in Minecraft. Oh, okay. They did not have very many spiders in the bug museum. I was hoping for more spiders. There were not very many spiders, but there were lots of other cool stuff. Bug museum was cool. There was also, in Gifu, just down a random street. Again, I said earlier that they have just random temples down random streets, and they had a random temple down a random street that was very tall. And you can't really get a perspective of how big this guy is. He's 45 feet tall. He's big. He's a big old Buddha. So there's just a big ass Buddha just down an alleyway in a building. And we're like, all right, cool, big ass Buddha. Probably shouldn't say big ass in the same sentence. Maybe disrespectful, but he's a big old Buddha. Really cool. He's only a little shorter, a few inches shorter than the famous big Buddha in another place that is well known that I can't remember the name of, but we will go see that other Buddha in a moment, and maybe in the future at some point. Well, I'll just wait and see. Big old Buddha. What do we do after the big Buddha? Oh yeah, there's also this pagoda at the archaeological site at the bottom of Mount Kinka, Oda Nobunaga's estate. We saw a bunch of like pamphlets about Oda Nobunaga's estate, which is like an archaeology site, right? An actual real archaeology site. And we looked at it, and here it is. Kind of just a flat bit of dirt. Not a whole lot to see, but, you know, it's cool. It was a real archaeological site, so that's cool, but, you know, they'd clearly dug everything. Not a whole lot to look at. It used to be like a big, cool mountain at the bottom of the mountain. Big, cool mountain at the bottom of the castle? Big, cool mansion at the bottom of the mountain. There we go. You know, cool. There are some cool pictures of it. I'll get to that in a moment. So, in review, I really like Gifu. I wouldn't recommend staying there for more than 2 days because there's not that much. We pretty much did everything cool that there was to do. This is like there is Gifu City, which I don't know. There's probably cool stuff in there. We didn't look. We were just interested in this mountain, Mount Kinka. If you're in the Nagoya area and need something to do, maybe a night in Gifu at the Gifu Ryokan, hit Gifu Castle, hit the Advanced Trail if you have got strong ankles, is worth doing. I enjoyed it. It's a little more rural. It's a little more out of the way. 2 thumbs up, Gifu. But again, you wouldn't want to spend like a week here. You'd run out of stuff to do very quickly. This is everything, really. I mean, there's probably more stuff, but this is everything. I saw this sign on the toilet that said, don't do this, but I mean, it makes me want to do a backflip. Can I do a backflip? No, but maybe I could if I was doing that pose, squatting backwards on a toilet seat. but you know, you live. Gifu. That'll be wrapping up Gifu. This picture of a toilet. Also, there was a toilet on the top of Mount Kinka that I could not figure out how to flush. Just, I don't know. I was in there for like 5 minutes and I couldn't find the flush button. And it wasn't automatic either. I just thought I should mention that. Anyways, so Gifu done. We're a few days into our Japan trip. We've gone to Yokohama. We've gone to Gifu. We've got a lot to cover still, so I need to speed up. I was going to stream till 9 anyways, so I've got a whole hour. So, Gifu. We once again hit the slow train on the orange route on the map to get to Nagoya. Nagoya is a big city. We spent no time there, though. We just passed through because we weren't that interested in Nagoya, but there's probably lots of cool things in Nagoya. Like Toyota is in Nagoya, the Toyota Museum or something, I think. So, bullet train again. We're back on the bullet train, an hour and a half from Nagoya to Kyoto. Kyoto is also very cool. So Kyoto, if you don't know, is the historic kind of city of Japan. It's kind of known as like the history old stuff city. It was the capital for a long time, like back in the Sengoku period or whatever. The shogun lived there for a long time. Kyoto was the city I was most excited for, and yeah, it didn't let me down. It met those expectations. So we are rushing on our train now to Kyoto. We're going past Lake Biwa, which also Lake Biwa looks cool. We didn't spend any time there, but there's cool stuff there. There's the famous little torii gate thing in the water. It's not a torii gate, but it's looks like a torii gate standing in the water. Yeah, whatever. We didn't go there. Who cares? Kyoto. So we get to Kyoto. Boom, boom, boom. We're out of the train. We have an Airbnb thing booked that night, but we cannot stay in it yet because we were too early. So we have all of our heavy luggage, and we say, let's walk around Kyoto with all of our heavy luggage for several hours, because that sounds like a great idea. So that is what we did, and it was very miserable. But in Kyoto, there's a lot of shopping districts. So this was one of them. And it's cool because it's like a semi-open air, like it's kind of open, like it has a roof, but it's not like an inside, it's not a building really. It's like, it's an alleyway with a roof on top of it, right? And there are areas where it's open, right? Completely open. And there's just tons of shops, lots of cool stuff. And then there's also, if you walk a little ways away from there, there's the more newer shops that are all in like big, department store buildings, and they're all the more upscale stuff. This is the more like kind of like traditionally small shops and stuff, but also lots of cool stuff here. My throat hurts. There's also this instrument shop in this, which had a lot of cool stuff. You can see, I think, a lute over here, and this thing, and these things, and a bunch of cool stuff. Also that I couldn't take, these like Middle Eastern, I think they were, like thingies and conch shells, and there was way more stuff that I didn't even have in the picture. They did not, unfortunately, though, have a hurdy-gurdy, which is what I wanted to see, but they had pretty much everything but hurdy-gurdy. Also, while wandering around, I had a special destination that I researched ahead of time that I wanted to hit, and that was the Knot Watch Boutique. Knot is a Japanese micro brand that uses Citizen Miyota movements in their watches from the Citizen Group, which is a good quality made in Japan watch movement. And I wanted a special Japanese watch. It was my goal. So I had researched, and they had a special line of very limited edition watches called the Urushi, which Urushi is Japanese lacquer, which when you see like the Japanese torii gates with the red, they're painted like orange or red. A lot of times the paint used is like a lacquer paint, and that's what it's known for, is the Urushi paint is the red lacquer. At least that's as far as I understand it. So I had a specific watch that I wanted called the Urushi, and it was a lacquer face dial with the red lacquer face dial with gold and silver dust sprinkled atop it, with a 100% made in Japanese movement, 100% made in Japan polished case with the 100% made in Japan band from actual leather makers in Japan, all made in Japan. So I went in the store. It's very classy. They had this little back area with their more premium watches. And here are the watches. So on the left is a a moon phase watch. This is a quartz watch. It is a cheaper watch of the two, significantly. This was about $129, I think. But still a beautiful watch. Very high quality Japanese leather on the strap, and it looks cool. And then on the right, we have a automatic manual, the Urushi watch. You can see the red. You can see the dots kind of on the surface. That's gold and silver flakes. It's an automatic watch, so you have to wind it, whereas the other one uses a battery. The red one was, I think it was over $500, but it was my big purchase for the trip. It was my major souvenir. Beautiful watch, and I have it, obviously. So that was my destination that I wanted to hit, and I hit it. So by then, it was time to check into our accommodation, which was a townhouse, like an Airbnb, $195 a night. This was, I think, our most expensive accommodation, but we bought it because the location was incredible. It was right next to Ninazake Street, which is like a famous traditional, you'll see pictures of it in a moment, like area of Kyoto. So this was the, there we go. This was the downstairs living room of our place. And this is in the style of the traditional Kyoto townhomes. And they're very specific in the style that they have, they're built in a more traditional way. The roof of this one's a little more modern, but they always have this little micro garden outside. It's that's like a staple of the type of style of house. So there's this little tatami mat living room. This was the bathroom. Now, aside from the big bathhouse, this was the best bathroom of the trip. This bath was awesome. The bath, it was just great. It was an awesome bath and an awesome bathroom. I struggled to figure it out because you have to turn on this weird little heater thing in order for the water to get hot. If you just turn the hot water on here, it's not hot, but I figured it out. So yeah, there was also an upstairs, which is where we slept. There was 2 rooms up there, with futons, right? We just slept on the floor. But yeah, this place was fine. It was cool. The accommodation itself was like, yeah, it was fine, but we really bought it for the location. We rented it for the location, and the excellent location. We had dinner. We had some omurice in Kyoto. And if you know anything about Japan, you know that they love their desserts and they love their drinks. They go big or they go home on their desserts. And this is very indicative of a typical Japanese dessert in a restaurant, where it's just like so over the top and just wonderful. And like, wow, just look at this pudding. It's like so beautiful and colorful. It was delicious. And then, so I got the pudding with the fruit. It was oranges, mangoes, kiwi, ice cream, bananas, apple. And I think that, I don't think this was grapefruit. It might have been grapefruit, but I think this was just a blood orange, not grapefruit. Did I finish it? Oh, of course I finished it. and with the trickle of berries on top, and a maraschino cherry, and the pudding, and just a random piece of parsley. I don't know, whatever. You don't need that part. And then my friend got the sundae. These were wonderful. And again, they weren't that expensive. This is Kyoto. That's a picture of Kyoto at night. Wow, just a beautiful place, Kyoto. Our hotel was on the right, or our Airbnb was on the right side of this bridge, and then we walked across this bridge, and this is where all the shopping areas were. And if you go deeper in, it gets a little more modern, a little more urban, but, they have these old buildings here. So, the next morning, we had a tea ceremony first thing. So, did you dip your leg in the water? Heck no. It looked a little like, not like a water I'd want to be in. It was clean. There wasn't trash in it, but no. But next morning, we had tea ceremony with my boy here, Akira. He was our tea master. Very young guy, which I was kind of surprised. But he was great. He was fabulous. Akira was awesome. We kind of got lost, of course, because that's what we do. We finally found the tea house. We left early, so we made it in time. We had a group session because it was cheaper to just buy a group session. It was like $15 or something, $20, maybe it was more. It wasn't very expensive. And our group was me, my friend. There was another young Chinese couple, and then there was a English lady, a really tall, dark-skinned English lady. That was the 4 of us that were in there, or five of us. Remaster I know is called Akira. Yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, there was a tea ceremony. He did Wakai. What does Wakai mean? He did the full spiel. He made us he did our whole thing. He told us about the history of the tea and all the items in the room. I'm not gonna tell you too much about it because I recommend you just go to your own tea ceremony and hear it from the masters instead of me regurgitating it half correct. Young, Wakai means young. Oh, interesting. Is that Japanese word? Or like Vietnamese or Chinese or but yeah, we got to make our own matcha, of course, and not to brag or anything, but I did the best job, so much that people were like impressed. It was like a hashtag Reddit everybody clapped kind of moment where he's like, oh, okay, Wakai is Japanese. Okay, cool, good to know. I learned a new Japanese word. But so, you know, he passed around the materials to make the tea, and he gave everyone their cups and their little whisks, and he's like, all right, make the tea. And I'm like, I've made matcha before. I have matcha at home. I've watched YouTube tutorials. I know what I'm doing. So I make the matcha. It's all foamy and beautiful. And like, I finish like really quickly. Don't make the obvious joke. I have my matcha set out. It's all bubbly and wonderful. And like, my friend is really struggling. He's really struggling because you gotta kind of, it's in the wrist. You really loosen your wrist and you just kind of shake it. I'm doing it right now in front of my face. I know you can't see it, but he was trying to whisk the matcha with his whole arm. Like he was using his shoulder to whisk the matcha. And I was like, relax your arm. He was struggling. He kind of got it, but he didn't really, he needs a little more practice. He did his best. And like, even the other people were impressed. They were like, oh, how do I get mine to look like his? And I was like, I'm the best. But yeah, it was cool. And Akira was like, oh, nice job. And I was like, heck yeah. Showing off my tea skills. Yeah. It was literally hashtag everybody clapped. Also, hey, DB Root. I don't know if I should call you that. Or Red Alchemy. I saw you in my recommendations. Nice to meet you. Your travels looks and sound so fun. Yes, they were. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, tea ceremony. I recommend it. They're not even that expensive. They're just fun and nice, and you get to drink tea. So we started our morning off like that. A good way to start the morning. Then we wandered around Ninezaka Street, which this is Ninezaka Street. You maybe have seen pictures of it before. I probably should have blurred out these random people, but whatever. It's like this. It's old. There's a lot of street food and old shops and stuff to look at. Kyoto's a very matcha centric kind of place, so there's a lot of matcha related stuff. In fact, hopefully this is the next tab. Nope. Okay, never mind. I'll get there. There's also this famous Starbucks, which is cool. I'll get back to the matcha, which is cool because it's they're not allowed to change the exterior of it, right? It has to be this traditional. So they've got this wooden Starbucks sign, which is kind of famous now, and it's a Starbucks, but it's cool. We went in there and got some stuff. Matcha. Here we go. Back to the matcha. You can see a matcha cheesecake, which was on my bucket list of something I wanted. Man, oh man, the matcha cheesecake was rich. It was so rich. I don't know if I recommend it. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. This matcha drink though was freaking amazing. I think this is like a latte or something. It was so good. One of the best drinks I've ever had. Just from some random store. You know, I don't even know what this place is called. Kiyomizu-dera is a famous temple area at the end of Ninezaka Street. And it's this famous temple with this roof that you've maybe seen before. But it's not just this temple. Kiyomizu-dera is a bunch of temples and a bunch of stuff. So this is the entrance, right? And there's all these things. And there's a bunch more here. There's like little like activity stations almost where you can like ring the bell, do the prayers, wash your hands in like holy water. Well, not holy, I guess. Blessed water? I don't know. Spiritual water? I am not super versed in what would you call this? Spiritual religion. What is it called? What do the Japanese do? Shintoism, I guess? Kiyomizu-dera? Maybe Shinto? Yeah, it's a cool area. Highly recommend. Both Ninezaka and Kiyomizu-dera. They're right. I mean, they're in the same spot. And then, so right about now it was lunchtime. So we're like, are you down for ramen? Is what and I was like, yeah, I'm down for ramen. So in my head, and I think in my friend's head as well, what we're picturing is Naruto ramen, right? Because we'd been eating a little bit of street food, and so we're thinking like a place where like it's like on the side of the street, you peek your head in, it's like a little bar, and like a Japanese dude with the thing wrapped around his head and all sweaty whips you up a big fat old plate of ramen, right? That's what we were thinking. So he's like, oh, I found a place. It's a ramen place down the road. It's a 10-minute walk. So we walk and we're starting to get into kind of a residential area. And we're like, is this right? And we see just like it looks kind of like a house. We're like, is this a restaurant? And we see there's like a menu outside the door. So we peek in, we open the door, and there's like a lady just standing right there. And she's like, just like she was waiting for us. And we're like the only people around. Like nobody's in the street. Nobody else is coming in. And she's like, welcome. And we're like, I guess we're coming in. And so we come in, we take our shoes off because of course it's Japan. And so she takes us into this side room, a private room. And like this was small, a really small restaurant. And the rooms were all private rooms, one table. And there were probably only a couple other rooms. I didn't see anyone else there, but I don't know if I even would have if they were there because they were so private. But I think we were the only people in there at the time. And we're like, I'm like, oh shoot, did we actually just go to like a freaking really expensive dinner on accident, or we're gonna get charged like $100? And I was stressed a little bit, but I was like, screw it, can't be that much. We're on vacation. Let's just roll with it. Because this place was kind of bougie, right? So we were waiting anxiously. We're like, how much is this place gonna cost? Beautiful room, right? And like, look at the settings on the desk. Beautiful. We got this little garden right next to us, and the tea. We drank the tea, and it's the kind of place where there's two options, right? You can get like 1 or 2 courses, and it's a coursed meal, right? So it's like you get option 1 or option 2. So I got option 1, my friend got option 2. I think I got like one type of broth, and he got another type of broth. Surprised all these places like you bring Zephy in. Yeah, I mean, I was discreet. I had him in my fanny pack, and then I pull him out, whip a picture, and then put him away. But yeah, he took a picture there. There he was waiting for tea. So here was the ramen they brought out, right? And so, and like, look at you can tell the difference with the quality of the chopsticks even. But before they brought the ramen out, I wish I had taken a picture of the appetizer. They brought out this weird fish pasty, fish egg, fish jizz, mayonnaise, cream thing. And it was so bad. It was good. It was good quality. It was clearly well made, but it was like eating like fish cum. It was so gross. And it was the nastiest thing I had on the whole Japan trip. It was like this creamy white stuff, and like it was like, had the texture of mayonnaise, but then you put it in your mouth and it like totally just melts away, right? It just melts. And I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. I know it's something fish related, like fish eggs or like fish balls or something, fish jizz. I don't know what this is. It's gross. I hate it so much. It tasted like fish cream cheese. How would I know that as a point of reference? My imagination. And I don't know what this stuff was, but I did not like it. But I ate it as much as I could, as much of it as I could stomach, because we were the only freaking people in this restaurant, and there was one waitress, and she was gonna know if we didn't eat the fish cum. So I'm like, I have to eat this nasty fish cum. So I ate like half of it. It was so gross. I hated it. And not to knock on the chef. It was gross because I'm a cultural, I'm a what do they call that? What do they call the dumb white people? Baka something. I'm a dumb white person, right? I'm not cultured enough to understand what this dish was, to appreciate it for what it was. The chef did a great job. It was probably great ingredients, but I did not have I was not equipped to eat this, whatever this stuff was. And I stomached half of it. I did my part, I think. It was gross. I should have taken a picture of it. I don't know what it was. But then they bring out the actual course dish. And yeah, so here it was. There's gold. Those are gold flakes on top of the pork. Surimi. I don't know what it was. What if they were just screwing at you? They could have been screwing with me. I don't know. It was, yeah, whatever. It was weird. But yeah, they brought out the meal, and yeah, there's gold, real gold on top of the pork, because that's what fancy restaurants do. It's not the first time I've eaten gold. And when I used to do corporate AV, we would get to eat the corporate AV catering, and they would always freaking put gold and shit. It's kind of dumb. It's a gimmick, but because they're like, oh, we're gonna put gold in your food. It's bougie and fancy. And whatever. I guess it is. I'm not a fan. It's whatever. But this is the ingredients were very high quality. And you can see the pork is basically raw, right? But once you put it in the soup, it cooked itself, right? By the time I got to eating it, it was all cooked. The noodles were good. Everything was homemade, right? These noodles were homemade. The broth was homemade. Nothing was freaking from a can. It was a great cup of ramen, obviously. Very nice, very nice. And then they brought out the dessert. It was a 3-course meal. The dessert was also handmade ice cream with this little treat thing that even had like the little brand press on it, and then figs, and then this little cinnamon thing. And I asked the lady, because I had heard, the lady being the waitress, I had heard that milk from, what's the Japanese place that makes the milk? Somebody will know it. If somebody knows it, say it. Please help me. The place that makes the milk. There's a region of Japan that is known for its milk. Hokkaido is known for its milk and its dairy products. And I'd heard that Hokkaido ice cream is like nothing else. It's extremely creamy and very rich, and like Hokkaido cows are like very free range, and it's very premium, very high quality. So I asked the waitress, I said, is this, and the ice cream is super creamy and rich. It almost has like a bit of a, this is gonna sound gross, it wasn't gross, but it almost has like a bit of a cheesiness to it because it's so rich and just like the dairy, but it was good. It was very good. I asked the waitress, I said, is this Hokkaido ice cream? And she was like kind of confused, and I asked my friend, I'm like, oh, can you translate? And he's like, whatever, Japanese, Hokkaido, Japanese ice cream. And she was like, I'll get the chef. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. So the chef comes in, it's what you would imagine when you picture a Japanese chef, right? He's got the thing on he's got the wrap on his head, and he's got the apron, and he's like, yai. And I'm like, Hokkaido ice cream? I point, and he's like, no. Ice cream here. And just points at himself, and I'm like, oh, you like Kyoto? And he's like, no, here. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, he like says something in Japanese, and my friend's like, oh, he's saying he made like the ice cream in house. Like it's not from Hokkaido. It's everything in the meal was homemade, like made here. The noodles, the ice cream, everything. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. A homemade ice cream. It's not from a tin or whatever, a box. So yeah, it was homemade ice cream. And I was afraid that I had insulted the chef by asking, but you seem cool. But yeah, this whole 3-course meal was like $20. And it was like, I don't know, man. Japan, like, you can't beat it. Like, you just can't. Like, the quality of the stuff you get, and the quality of the service, and the price that it's at is just insane. It is wild. In America, if I go to Burger King and get like a double Whopper with a drink, which I would never get because I don't eat beef, that would be $20, right? This is a 3-course ramen meal with fish cum and homemade ice cream, and it was $20. Like, that's insane. And in Japan's the whole country's like that. Like that insano freaking ryokan I showed like 20 minutes ago. That was so just insanely nice, and $158 a night. The nicest hotel I've ever stayed in. And I've stayed in like the Four Seasons in Atlanta, somewhere. I've stayed in like Four Seasons. I've stayed in the Millennium Biltmore. I've stayed in the Oriental. I've stayed in the Biltmore in LA, the Biltmore in Florida, like all like high quality hotels. And like these Japanese hotels were like as nice as those hotels, and not $600 a night like those hotels, right? So yeah, Japan. Go to Japan, man. So yeah, that was our lunch. We ate 7-Eleven for dinner. Japanese 7-Eleven is also freaking premium. I'm sure you've all heard of Japanese 7-Eleven. If you haven't, it's insane. Hey, Liko, how's it going? In America, you have to pay an extra $5 and not spit in your food. That too. You don't have to tip in Japan. There's no tipping. Isn't that wild? Also, yeah, Liko, thanks for coming. Man, yeah. It's wild. Yeah, I can't even. And the freaking pastries from earlier. Oh my god, the $5 pastries that were so good. 7 pastries and a drink for $5. Oh my gosh. I miss it. I really miss it. And the 7-Eleven food that's actually edible and not a hot dog rotating on a freaking conveyor belt for 6 days. Ah, man. Japan. So, more Kyoto. We went to the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine. It's a 2.8-mile hike up the mountain. I had gotten a warning ahead of time from my sister, and I'm glad that she told me this, that she said, go to Fushimi Inari. It is amazing, but be aware that the bottom section of the mountain is extremely crowded. And you're gonna not want to go, but just bear with it and go. And just muscle through the bottom part, and it will clear out, and it will be worth it. So I did that. So Fushimi Inari is, I think I have some better picture. Oh, that's a video for later. I don't have a proper good picture of it because all of them had me in them, and I didn't want to blast my face on this. You survived nicely on the convenience store food in Japan. Yeah, absolutely. So Fushimi Inari is the second mountain we climbed in Japan. It's 2.8 miles. It's a bit of a hike. And the whole way is the red torii gates, right? Or the orange red. They're red, but they look orange to me, but they're red. The red torii gates going all the way up the mountain. Hundreds, if not thousands, probably tens of thousands of them. And just shrines all up the mountain. Extremely beautiful. It was a little overcast, and it had rained the night before. It sprinkled a little bit when we were there, but not too much. But it was cool because it had rained the night before, so it was wet and very atmospheric. And it was extremely crowded. Oh my god, it was so crowded. It was so crowded. It was miserable for the first like 20 minutes of the hike because it was pelvis to butt, like crammed in there like traffic, right? You were like breathing down people's necks and just getting pushed up a hill like a salmon going up a salmon tube. And people, yeah, it was not happening. I was getting stressed. I was getting a little claustrophobic, and I'm not a claustrophobic person usually. But eventually it opened up, and after we hiked a little bit, and it opened up, and it was worth it, and it was very nice. So here's some more pictures of Zephy at some of the temples along the way. And then I have a little video, a very atmospheric video of part of the just a little section that I took on the way down. So. Is that not just like the most atmospheric and lovely thing? Like the water slide and the water slide for the spirits? Maybe. I mean, like I said, it was raining at this point, but like it was so beautiful. And I don't really know too much about the history of this, so I'm not gonna pontificate on it. But so there's these torii gates, there's these little ones, but there's big ones the whole way up, and you can sponsor them if you're like a company or a person. And then you can also buy little ones, and like you write your name or whatever, and like your prayers or whatever, something like that. And you can put them up here, and so you can see, look, there's just like hundreds of them, and they're all up the mountain. These are the little ones, but there's big ones too. Thank you for whoever just subscribed. I'm gonna play this video again though. It's like this, like look at this, and there's candles everywhere too, because there's like monks that maintain this place, and they come and they light the candles, and they take care of it, and they clean it, and they make it all nice. And it's so beautiful. And here's the big gates. You can kind of see two of them right there. Pause. So these are just like 3 of them here, but these are densely populated up the whole mountain, like every like 2 feet, right? The whole like trail is just these. This is like a little side shrine area, so it didn't really have them. But you're walking for 2 miles through just these gates, like by the thousands. And again, just another part of Japan you just see. Did you leave a torii gate behind? No, I didn't, because I wish I had, especially since I realized they're not that expensive. They're like a couple bucks, I think, for the small ones, like 20 bucks or something. And even the big ones were like a couple hundred, which I thought they'd be like thousands, I think. But they weren't that expensive. I should have, but I did not, unfortunately. It just wasn't in the plans, and we didn't really think about it. But again, like, yeah, so this was on our way down the mountain. We were just walking through a neighborhood, and like, yeah, there's just a random like Buddha lady, or man, I guess a man. I thought it was a lady because she's holding he's holding a baby. I won't assume this Buddha's gender, but just a Buddha, like, just chilling, like, in an alley, like, and that's kind of, again, indicative of these older Japanese cities. They just have just stuff, just like everywhere. You'll just look down an alley and there'll be a statue, and it's not covered in graffiti, and there's not cigarette butts on the feet, right? Like in America, which, that's a whole other issue. It just makes me sad in America. When we have nice things, they just get ruined. Japan, they actually kind of take care of their stuff, it seems like, which, I don't know. I don't know why that is. It's just a bummer. So the next day, onward and upwards. Fushimi Inari was amazing. Recommended. If you go, bear through the heavy crowd and just go up the whole thing. It's if you like hiking, do it. If you don't, because it's a lot of walking. Day trip to Nara. So Nara is a famous city near Kyoto. So we had to hop on like an older metro bus that was like, you know, or not bus, train. You know the train in Spirited Away, and it's like kind of an older like rail car like thing, and it's like rickety but still nice. Like, it reminded me of that train, right? The one that we went on. And it was a lot slower than usual trains, but we took that, coming to Nara. We're walking through the Nara town, you know, this big lake, you see temples freaking everywhere. But Nara is known for really two things. The first thing Nara is known for is the deer. So you may know this, you may not, but Nara is infested, overrun, bursting at the seams with thousands of deer just everywhere, just walking everywhere. And they're very docile. They'll come up to you, you can pet them, they'll just be nice, and you can there's street vendors just scattered everywhere that sell these special deer crackers that are for deers. I took a bite of one. It didn't taste that good, just because of course I did. It was kind of a sweet cracker thing. And you can feed the deers. If you have the crackers, the deers will, you know, crowd around you. And one of the things that they're famous for is that they will lower their heads when they like are trying to get the crackers from you. They will basically bow, and they'll do it kind of quickly. They won't do it like slow, but like they'll bow. Is kind of how the story goes. So the idea is they bow to you, you bow back, and then you feed them the cracker. And they do. They dip their heads and they come up to you. They're lovely. I have some videos of me with them. I have a bunch of videos of me petting them. I just showed 2 pictures of them, but they're everywhere. You're just walking through like the streets and the parks, and there's thousands of them, and they're just chilling. Some of them are like, a lot of them are sleeping, a lot of them are loitering. There's babies everywhere. Some of them are like kind of fighting a little bit, like they'll like posture and like hit each other's heads and stuff. Glass of water. But yeah, Nara, deer, it's kind of what it's known for. It's worth going to. Thanks for subscribing, whoever that was. So I just took a picture of these traffic cones because, like, again, Japan just putting thought into their things they do. The little extra thought of like, hey, this is a old temple that we want to be respectful of. We need to have cones. But let's not put cheap, ugly plastic cones. Let's take these cute little bamboo cones. I just thought it's cool. Wondering if that's a learned trait. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a learned trait or if the deers just naturally do that. That's a very good question. But they certainly do it. So deer is number one. Deer is number one. The second thing Nara is known for is the Big Buddha. So I showed you a Big Buddha earlier in the presentation, but this is the bigger Buddha by a couple inches. So this is the entryway to the Big Buddha. You have to pay to get in this temple. It's not too much. It's more expensive than you'd think. I think it was like $15-20, which in Japan is kind of expensive, but I mean, this place is expensive to maintain, so it's like I was fine paying it. And in fact, I was like, it was funny. There's an Australian tourist there. There's a lot of Australian tourists there, and we heard how much it cost. He was just a random guy. We heard how much it cost, and he was like, "Ooh, that's kind of expensive." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's like way more expensive than the other stuff." And he's like, kind of like rubbing his chin, and I was kind of rubbing my chin, and he's like, well, you know, we came all this way. what's 2,000 yen? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, here's my 2,000 yen. Let's go in. So that was kind of just a little side story. But here's the Big Buddha house, Big Buddha mansion, Big Buddha temple, Luigi's Big Buddha mansion. You know, you can see the people in the gates for scale. It's big. It's a big freaking building, and it's quite the thing. It's yeah, impressive. And then you go in, and on the left is the Big Buddha, and unfortunately, the Big Buddha does not photograph very well for scale, because like, I mean, look how big this thing is. The Big Buddha goes to the roof, right? It doesn't come across in the picture that he's that big, but he real big. He real big boy, right? He biggest boy. On the right, on the left and right side of him in the backs, they're like the Big Buddha guardians. I think they're cool. I thought they were really cool, really beautifully carved, very detailed. And look, he's got all these little Buddhas like floating around him. I don't know the how that works, but you know, I'm sure there's some cool backstory to that. And then look, you can see there's offerings and stuff of like rice and all that. So very cool. Big Buddha was cool. So at this point, we had been in Nara for a while. We'd seen the Big Buddhas. We pet the deers. We'd, you know, done some stuff. We were so hungry. Once again, we were struggling to find food though. I don't know why we struggled so hard to find food in Japan, but we did. And nothing was open. We couldn't freaking find anything. We found this random French bakery, and we're like, we want food. Oh my god, none of the restaurants are open. But they had tea. I had tea, and they had like little like quiches again, and it was fine. But like, I wanted a meal. But we wanted to hike another mountain, the third mountain of the trip. It was going to be quite long, and it was quite long. So we needed a little something. By this point, my feet were pretty gnarled and banged up and bleeding a little bit. But I'm like, we're gonna hike this mountain. My friend really wanted to. I was being a bit of a bummer downer. I was like, I don't want to hike the mountain. He's like, come on. I was like, all right, okay, let's hike the mountain. Hike the mountain. We took like the back way, and it took a long time. It probably took close to an hour and a half to hike this mountain of trails, and it was tough. This is a hard one. This not as hard as the advanced trail for Mount Kinka, but Mount Kinka was a lot shorter. This one was just long. It was like an endurance fest. And my feet were tired, and you know, we were halfway through our trip at this point, so I was tired. But we fought our way up this mountain, and of course, once we get to the top of the mountain, we see there's like a parking lot, and everyone's getting out of their buses and their cars, and we're like, ah, man, we hiked all this way. And there's also a much shorter way up the mountain, and we accidentally took the way that was significantly longer, which is a bit of a bummer, but that meant that we were able to take the quick route on the way down, so it all worked out. So we got to the top of the mountain, and we looked over the city of Nara from the top of the mountain. Just at sunset we arrived, which was quite magnificent. So down here you can see, here's the temple of the Big Buddha house. We're at the top of the mountain, obviously, as I said like 16 times. So we got to watch the sunset from the top of the mountain. Very nice. I was trying to get somebody to take our picture, and so I kept like looking for groups of people that were taking pictures, and I was trying to like quickly insert myself and be like, let me take your picture for you. I'll take it, like, I got you, so that then I could ask them to take our picture after, but like they kept like finishing too quickly, and I couldn't get to them in time, and so we ran up there for like 10 minutes until finally I found another group of Chinese tourists, and I was like, let me take your picture, and they're like, okay, and then I'm like, now take ours, and they're like, okay. So, you know, it took us a while to get our pictures, but you don't get to see those pictures, but they exist. Here's a less ugly and blurry picture of the sunrise or sunset from the top of the mountain. You can see all the people up here taking the pictures of the sunset and all the birds around. Quite lovely. Again, another just perfect day. So by this point, this was I believe our third day in Kyoto. We had stayed at our Airbnb place for 3 nights, I think, 2 or 3 nights. And our last night, we went to another ryokan. I'd booked a nicer hotel for our last night, because, you know, whatever. So, again, this was a ryokan, $230 a night, quite expensive, but this is like the middle of Kyoto, so that's why it's quite expensive. Actually, this was our most expensive hotel now I think about it. I said another one was earlier, but this was by far. And after the one in the ryokan and gifu with the bathhouses, I was excited for this one. But I didn't realize that this was not a bathhouse ryokan. This was just an inn with no baths. So I was pretty disappointed that there was no bathhouses. And this place was fine. I don't think it was worth the money, but it was, for the accommodations, it was very clean. It was very nice. Again, we had like a person give us like the tour and talk to us and all that. It was very nice, but the one in Gifu, which was half the price, was so much nicer. But Gifu's also a rural town in the middle of nowhere, and this is the heart of Kyoto, so, you know, yeah. So the accommodation was whatever, but the meal, we bought an actually expensive meal, like by any standards. I think it was over $100 per person meal. But the meal was one of my favorite memories. This meal was so fun. So there's a style of, I feel like these scenes are from the Zephy anime. I know, it was such a scenic, awesome trip. The meal is Kyoto style, and there's a name for it. It's called like, starts with a K, like kababa style dish. And it's small plates. It's similar to French cuisine, right? Where you have small portions, many small portions of things, but it's Kyoto style. And so here was the meal, or part of it. So I'll give you the rundown of what all this stuff was, right to left, because I took a picture of the thing. So a multi-course meal. So first thing we got, I didn't take a picture of the appetizer, but it was kongu eel with matsutake mushrooms steamed in an earthenware jug. It was just a little like clay cup with some eel and some mushrooms. It was delicious, right? But that was the appetizer. And then so this was the hansun, which was the assorted dish. And so it included salmon roe with sleet, which was, it's these fish eggs here, which are cut in a cut lime for some reason. And they were very limey and like sour and sweet. I don't like fish eggs, but they were tasty. And then there was a fried tiger prawn. This was probably the second grossest thing I ate, which, I mean, prawns are not gross. Prawns are delicious. Shrimp are delicious, but you're supposed to eat the whole thing, I think. I did. I don't know if you are supposed to eat the whole thing, but it's fried so you can eat the whole thing, right? So, and I was like, when in Rome, when in Kyoto, boom, 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 this whole prawn head is going directly into my mouth. So the thing about prawn head is, it's prawn and shrimp are like a bug, right? Shrimp is a sea bug. So if you can imagine eating a big giant sea cockroach, that's what it is. So, and he's got all his little face spikes, right? And so see all his little antenna and all his little spikies? Those got stuck in my teeth. And it was really crunchy and like not in a good way. It was like eating plastic. And like there was all these like bits of him stuck in my teeth and like trying to, and then like I popped his eyeball in my mouth, and then like as I was chewing, I was like, I'm eating this guy's brain right now. And I was kind of like, I don't know about this. It's like, it's fine. It doesn't taste like anything, right? Because it's just, you're just literally eating keratin, cartilage, essentially. So it's like, like you can eat it, but why would you? Like, it doesn't taste good. It just gets everywhere, and it's a mess, and like it gets in your teeth, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, not good. Wouldn't recommend. Just eat the good part. Like, yeah, but whatever. You know, I'm glad I tried it. So that was the second. Next was grilled mackerel sushi, which is just a little piece of mackerel grilled on rice. Delicious. I would eat the tail, but not the head. Yeah, it's just, the head is just too much. People suck on the head. Okay. You just suck on the head? Don't make the obvious joke. I'm talking to myself there. So yeah, I guess suck on the head next time and eat the tail. I think that's sound advice. The next, yeah, I just said was, where was I? Grilled mackerel. Well, no, you said it. Delicious, just piece of sushi, not sashimi, unfortunately. It was grilled. I would have preferred if it was raw, but whatever. Then was persimmon and mashed tofu dressing. It was just like a, I don't even know how to explain it. It doesn't look like persimmon. But it was delicious. And then there was the ginkgo pine nuts. that were fine. They just they look like olives, but they tasted like a nut, like a big fat like macadamia or something. It was, yeah, okay, whatever, it's fine. Candied chestnut was good. This what was this? This says it's this ayu with roe boiled in Japanese pepper. This was quite good. It was similar to a sweet fish. It was kind of weird. It had the texture of dirt, like it had been buried in the ground for a long time. The taste was good. The texture was really weird. Like it would like crumble like dirt in your mouth. Kind of gross, but it tasted good. And then there was the grilled barracuda with yuan sauce. I've never had barracuda before. Very, very tasty. Very good. And you get to eat the skin because the skin is all, you know, grilled, and so you can eat the whole thing. Then pickled duck, which, you know, it's duck. It tasted good. It was duck. Then pressed layers of kelp, ginger, cucumber with salmon. Very good again. Steamed, unpeeled, boiled taro was pretty tasty. Simmered shimeji mushrooms. Again, tasty. So at this point, we had already had our appetizer, which is conger eel and matsutake mushrooms. Then we just had these 12 little dishes. Then next came out the main course. That wasn't the main... Well, no, actually, next came out like a middle course, which is a nether shrimp, which I also ate all of. What was it? It was boiled medium fatty tuna, sweet shrimp, and abalone. Again, these were all delicious. The fish was delicious. The shrimp was delicious. The abalone was delicious. Well, abalone, I could pass on the abalone. Abalone just tastes like you're eating an eraser, right? It's like, whatever. I'll eat it, but I'm not going to be like, oh man, I'm really craving some abalone right now. Then there's this little thing, which was, what was this? Sweet sea bream tofu skin roll and fushimi pepper Japanese grilled lotus root. Yeah, so there's like a fish back here, I think, and then there's the lotus root and this like leaf, autumn leaf that you could eat. It was like candied kind of. And then this is miso salt and some other fancy salt. And then the hot pot came out. So then there's hot pot. So I got the chicken hot pot. So there's chicken meatballs and then chicken bits, and then, you know, they lit the hot pot. You know, you make hot pot. Pretty self-explanatory. And then the dessert came out. The dessert was like a kind of like a parfait thing with like just like a tea and like it was good. So this was quite the meal, right? I didn't even take a picture of the first appetizer, unfortunately. So there was the first appetizer, these 12 little dishes, these 3 little dishes, this ginger root thing with the leaf that you could eat, then the freaking hot pot entree. So that's why this, and then the dessert. So that's why this meal goes like $100. But it was so fun. It was so much fun. There was only one other couple. There's two girls in the dining room with us at the same time. So it was pretty quiet and chill. I tried to order soju, but I didn't realize that sochu and soju are 2 different things. So I got shochu, which is like a really strong sake, and I drank like a bottle of that. And it was good. It was sake. It tasted like strong sake. So whatever. But yeah, so this meal has ignited a love of multi-course meals for me. And I would like to do more like Michelin style. Like, they're freaking expensive, so you can't do them often. You can only do them for a special occasion, right? And you can really only go with like one other person, right? Because like, there's not a lot of people who are going to want to spend that much money for a meal. But it's one of those things you save up to. And if you find a good place, it's just so fun to go to a coursed meal. I love it. And yeah, again, I would like to do some more stuff like this in America. So yeah, this meal is great. So great that we also got breakfast here. And so breakfast was tofu, milk tofu in like a milk tofu hot pot. And then 3 different little egg, what do you call it? What do you call it? Omelets. 3 kind of like Japanese style omelets. They were cold though, which was kind of off-putting. They tasted fine, but they were cold. I didn't like that they were cold. And then the tofu in milk was kind of weird. This salmon was delicious. It was so good. I don't know why. It was so simple, but so delicious. Again, so the breakfast was super extra too, right? Can you usually consume them cold? Yeah, you can, but I don't know. I would have preferred them hot. They were like sweet too, so I guess it makes sense. Like they're sweet, cold. I don't know, but yeah. So this was the first like things that came out: the tofu, the eggs, the fish. Then came out more stuff, which was it's a thing. Yeah, it was fine. Which was grilled tofu skin with like these edamame, I think, and then simmered konjac with dried bonito, which is like weird like fish straw things. I don't know. Dried daikon strips. Chili pepper with small fish, which was this thing. I don't know what small fish is. I don't want to know what small fish is because it could be something gross, but I'm just gonna assume that it's fish that is small and live in ignorance happily. Boiled pot herb and mustard was, whatever, and then smoked salmon, again, more salmon. And then what else? And then the dessert. So back again at the big old grapes. So we saw a big old grape earlier. And then this is another place that gave big grapes. Tea, and orange, and big old grapes, because again, fruit is more expensive in Japan. It's more of a delicacy in Japan, whereas America, fruit is cheaper and more commonplace because we import it. We're a lot closer to like the Caribbean and stuff, or Mexico, where they grow a lot of that fruit on the equator. Japan, they have to import these places in or grow them there, which is not the best climate for them, blah, 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 blah. Fruit's more expensive in Japan. So it's when you get fruit as a dessert, it's kind of a little more like a nicer kind of fancy thing, right? So that was our Kyoto thing. So far we've spent a tiny bit of time in Tokyo and Yokohama. Then we swung over to Gifu, had a great time in Gifu, had lovely accommodations, hiked a mountain, went to Kyoto, bought some watches, did some shopping. I took a wrong turn at one point and we ended up walking for like 3 hours because we were lost and it was miserable. Saw the temple where Oda Nobunaga was assassinated. Went to Fushimi Inari mountain shrine thing. Saw the deers at Nara, had this delicious meal, did some other cool stuff. I went to Kiyomizu-dere, Ninazaka Street, all kinds of cool stuff in Kyoto. Kyoto's so cool, would go back in a heartbeat. Love me some Kyoto, but now it is time to return to Tokyo because we only spent a small amount of time in Tokyo when we landed. And this was the last day of our JR pass to expire, so we had to jump on a bullet train, a 3-hour bullet train, and head back to Tokyo. Again, smooth ride, going 200 miles an hour, pretty chill. So, we did a lot of stuff in Tokyo. I don't remember all of it, but I'll try and remember some of it. Before we left to Tokyo, though, the last thing we had in Kyoto was KFC. Because I always say that KFC is the least edible of all the American fast food chains, to the point where I wouldn't even consider it food. They have 2 edible items on the menu. The first one being the chicken pot pie, which is fine. The second one being the famous bowl, which is pretty good. All of the other items on the menu of KFC are so disgusting that it is one of the few times I've ordered food and had to throw it away more than once. It was so inedibly disgusting because it was so greasy. The chicken was nothing but fat and skin with no actual meat on it. And it was just horrible. KFC used to be a lot better, but in today's era, I believe KFC is the least edible and most disgusting fast food in America. Unless you get the pot pie or the famous bowl. So, suffice that to say, I wanted to try KFC in Japan to see if it was real food. To compare. Yes, it was real food. It tasted like a fast food chicken sandwich, but a decent one. Significantly better than KFC's in America. It was good. KFC was good. It was cool. So, now we're back in Tokyo. We're in Shinjuku. And we are staying at the Shinjuku Rose Garden Hotel, which was a hotel that I was excited for because if you look at the picture, it looks quite cool. It looks like it's kind of a French style. Take a sip of water. But it looks kind of fancy and kind of cool and hip and nice. $165 a night, so it was like the 3rd most expensive place. Actually, no, it was more expensive than the freaking Gifu Ryokan, which is insane to me because that place is so incredible. So the 2nd most expensive place we stayed. And while the first place we stayed was the worst place, and again, it wasn't that bad, this was the most disappointing. Because, for one, there's a lot of construction going on this hotel is 2 buildings, 2 tall buildings. There's a lot of construction going on in one. The one we were in didn't have construction, but it was like very just like whatever. So here's the rooms. Like this looks like a quintessential like American hotel, right? That you'd see in America. And you know, that's what it was. This is what it would cost to go to an American hotel too, like $165 for a hotel like this. So it's like, it's fine. It was clean. It was whatever. But like after being blown away by our accommodations previously, it was like disappointing because I was kind of looking forward to this hotel. Here's our view from outside. So it was a cool view. There's this little garden in the place across from us. But you know, yeah, the Shinjuku Rose Garden, it was whatever. It was a little expensive and it was not that great. The view was nice. So the night of Tokyo, I was a little peckish, so I went to there are 2 really common, well, a couple really common coffee shops in Japan. One of them is Dotor. Then there's this one, which is, can't remember the name of it. You can kind of see half of the logo. And then there's another one. But I was peckish, so I went and I got kind of a sampling of their things. They got this hot dog thing, this dry hot dog in a dry thing with mustard in it. It tasted about how it looks. It was dry and it was kind of whatever. Then this kind of like pizza bread thing, which was also whatever. And then there was this thing. Now this thing was like a croissant with, I think it was like sweet potato in it. And this thing was freaking so good. It was like, look how flaky this is too. But like the filling of like the sweet potato-ish kind of thing. I think it was sweet potato. It might have been something else, but I think it was sweet potato. It was so tasty. It was super, super tasty. It would made it all the other stuff worth it. You can see I got another matcha latte. But yeah, just some crappy, cheap Japanese food here. Like this is like their fast food, right? Went into a Yodobashi camera. They had freaking Madoka on their TV displays, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, Madoka on their TV because anime obviously is everywhere in Japan. So this was also in the same place. They had little, you know, cutouts of Bochi. There was a lot of Bochi stuff. Bochi and I think the 2 heaviest presence Japanese franchises I saw in all of Japan was Bochi stuff and Uma Musume. There was a lot of horse girls and there was a lot of Bochi. Like everywhere. Freaking everywhere. Bochi was on top of it. And it was kind of a bummer because they had all the other girls cutouts, you know, in one corner. And then they have just Bochi off to her side, like by herself looking really uncomfortable. And I was like, that's kind of sad. But I'm sure they did it on purpose. But it's just kind of funny how she's off to her. This is just a corner, like a random corner, like hidden behind some like stuff. She's got her little sash that I think this sash translates to something like captain for a day or something. Like she's like the manager, I guess, for the day. Because the Kyuza love their horses. Yeah, there's a lot of Uma Musume love that I did not expect. But yeah, a lot of Bochi stuff. We'll see more Bochi stuff in the future. Near our hotel, there was this freaking cyberpunk looking ass building in Shinjuku, which was a government building. Like this, look at this thing. This thing is, if you said picture an evil building where an evil villain would live, this is what I would picture. Like, especially with we had the overcast too. So it was like, man, this place looks evil. So yeah, we walked around. We saw Bochi stuff. We went to a bunch of shopping places when we were in Shinjuku. That night we had an appointment, a ticket to, what's it called? Tokyo Burlesque. So Burlesque, if you don't know, is a classy kind of strip club kind of thing, like a strip club show. I do not have pictures of Tokyo Burlesque, because there were topless people there. They have pasties on, like covering up the nipples, that's traditional for burlesque. Burlesque is, again, it's like it's meant to be a classy kind of thing. It's a show, right? It's about like the dancing and like the athleticism and the artistry of it, not, about less about just like shaking boobs and stuff, right? But there are also boobs. That was something that my friend was a no negotiation point for him as in, what I mean by that was he's saying, we are going to this. Like for him, he was like, I want to go to this. You're coming with me. We're not negotiating. So I was like, all right, man. Okay, sure. I'll go to the Tokyo Burlesque. And it was cool. It was really cool. I drank some alcohol, and after a couple drinks, I like looked to my left, and there was like the quintessential Japanese businessman, right? He was a bit heavier set with, you know, glasses and like older guy. And I was just like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? Like, wow, you look irregular. And I was talking to him, and his English was actually quite good. And he told me he worked for, I won't say the name of the company, but he worked for a high profile audio company that, if you know audio stuff, you'll know, like something like a Bose or an AKG or a Yamaha or a Audio-Technica or like, you know, or Sony, like one of those companies, right? Like a big, and he was like a businessman, and he traveled to America a lot for business to LA. And that's why his English was so good. And I was like, oh, we're LA. And he's like, oh, LA, you know, I love LA, like blah, blah, blah. That was really fun. And like we toasted and drinks, and like when some of the girls like came over to him, I was like punching him in the arm, like, oh man, like that was kind of fun, like little thing. It was cool. It was interesting. Not really my scene, to say the least, but you know, it was cool. And then we wandered around. I don't remember what district that went. That wasn't in Shinjuku. That was in one of the other districts. We wandered around at night. There were a bunch of like actual strip clubs in that area too, which we were not interested in because, again, like burlesque is a little more classy, and we're not interested in strip clubs. It's not our thing. Even my friend, it's not his thing. And like we were getting heckled by like, it was so weird. So we go in front of these strip clubs, and there's 3 of them, and in front of each one is a big Jamaican man, right? And it was just weird because it's like you don't expect to see one Jamaican man in Japan, let alone 3 standing in a line separately. And each of them was like the crier for the strip club, and they're like, man, come in, beautiful girls in here, come on. And we walk by a little further, another guy, come on, man, come on in. Next guy, come on. So it was just kind of weird, like, oh, that's weird. And I guess there's a whole thing, like there's a whole like Jamaican like pocket in like this area of Japan, like a bunch of like Jamaican guys live there, like guys and gals. So I thought it was just a little interesting. We ate like we found like a Greek restaurant or something to get like a gyro at. We had a gyro, and then just wandered around. I saw one dude getting like arrested, and he was clearly a foreigner, but he was clearly drunk and belligerent, and like there was the 3 Japanese cops just like mobbed him, and they're tiny, the tiny little Japanese guys were the cops. The dude was like way taller than them, but they freaking like crowded him, and he like tried to like kind of push past them, and they're like, they grabbed him, and they're like, no man, you're not going anywhere, and they just like disappeared him. Which is like, yeah, that's what they do in Japan. They're like, nope, you're coming with us, you're gone. Like, hopefully that guy found his way out, but yeah, it was interesting to see. Because Japan's a very safe place, so you don't expect to see things like that. But this was a little bit more of a nightlife kind of district, so it makes sense that there's, you know, some drunk guys. Also, I just want to mention this because we went into a pub. This is a rant. I've been raving the whole time. This is a rant. We went to a pub. Because we're like, oh, it's a pub, an Irish pub in Japan. That's weird. And the guy manning it was like, I think Australian. He wasn't Irish. There's no Warren Boss saying, yeah, exactly. They just disappeared them. But so we went to this pub, and it was kind of late at this time, like 10 o'clock. And during the burlesque show, there's a part where they blow confetti everywhere, like tons of confetti. And I was wearing a jacket, so some confetti had gotten like in my hood, and like, you know, a little bit was like hanging to my jacket. So we go into the pub. I'm at a table. It's not even busy. There's like hardly anyone even in there. Like a couple people at the bar, and like I'm sitting at the thing, and the dude comes up to us, and he's really rude, and he's like, was so off-putting because up to this point people had been so polite, like hyper polite and so nice, and this dude was an asshole, right? He was like, and he's just like, he's like, kitchen's closed, and we're like, oh, okay, but like our drink's still open. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he just like left, and I'm like, well, we wanted food, so do we want to go somewhere else? My friend's like, oh yeah, probably. I'm like, do you want a drink? And he's like, not really here. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. So we're already thinking of leaving. And then the guy comes up to us and he's like, what's that? And he points at the ground and there's like maybe like 5 pieces of confetti on the ground. And I'm like, oh, that probably came from my jacket. I'm sorry. My bad. Sorry, that was my mistake. Like, and literally like just 5 pieces of confetti. And he just was like staring at me, just like giving me like dead eyes. And again, this is not a Japanese guy. This is clearly, he's an expat. I think he was Australian, but he's just staring at me and I'm staring back at him. And I'm just like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to like clean it up for you? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, give me a broom. And he's like, okay. And he brings out a broom and he hands me the broom. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, are you actually serious right now? You want me to sweep this up? And he just stared at me and I'm like, geez, man. And I'm like, I guess this is what happens when you don't tip, right? He like that's as rude as anybody I've ever seen in like food service. Like, I don't know. I was just taken aback by how rude it was. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll clean it up. Like, there's 5 pieces of confetti on the ground. I'll sweep it up. Here you go. Here's your broom back. But I don't know. Maybe that's a hashtag am I the asshole situation, but that dude really pissed me off. Because he was rude from the beginning, and then he was just rude the whole time. Screw that guy. Screw that Irish pub in that part of the town. I'll never go there. So yeah, that was dumb. I hated that. Kind of put a damper on our night, but it was near the end of the night. We then went to like that place at the Euro, and there's a really nice like Greek guy there. He was really cool. So whatever. So next day, here was the weather that night. It was really cool to see the Tokyo Tower kind of just emerging from the fog like a pinnacle of light, just kind of looking through the fog. That was cool. So the next day, we wanted to go to the Ghibli Museum, which tickets sells out immediately, and they did, and we didn't get tickets. But we were told if you do not get tickets, you can book a tour, and the tour will provide the tickets for you. So we booked a tour. The tour was pretty expensive. It was like over $100, I think, a person. But the tour was like an all-day tour with transportation, food included, and like the tickets included and stuff. So the tour started. We walked to a really, really bougie hotel, which is where it starts at. We go down and, you know, like they have a little office there for the tour start. Get in there. They give us our goodies. They gave us there's a really cool cup they gave me, a little cool teacup. That was really cool. That you can only get at that tour. They gave me the cup. Get on the bus. And then we go to this hotel. So this is the Gajuan Hotel. Jajuan? I wrote Jajuan right there. I think it's Gajuan with a G. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering it or misspelling it. This hotel is crazy. So this is I think it's a designated like heritage site too. It used to be somewhere else, but they like moved it. So here's some of the inside of the hotel. Here's like the foyer in the hotel. They have waterfalls, like a full like mountain and waterfall off to the left of the frame that you can't see. They've got these gardens. See these little buildings right here? These are hotel rooms. So you can get hotel rooms with like these open doors into like these gardens, and this is the elevator. This is inside the hotel, right? Like there's an open kind of ceiling area, but there's beautiful waterfalls. This is a really popular place to take wedding photos. Oh no, that guy seems understandable. Yeah, that guy was a dick. But screw him. I don't want to even think about him anymore. I want to think about this beautiful waterfall. There was wedding photos going on, so we didn't go out here because we didn't want to interrupt the wedding photos, of course. But we got to see it from inside, and the koi fish. This is still in the hotel. Look at this freaking thing. This beautiful woodwork, and supposedly this hotel partially inspired Ghibli when he made. Or Ghibli, his name's not Ghibli, Miyazaki. It partially inspired Miyazaki when he made Spirited Away. And yeah, you can kind of see it. I don't know how true that is, but that's why this hotel is part of the tour. And do I have a picture of the guy? No, I don't. I have a close-up picture of this guy. This guy is playing the hurdy-gurdy, which I mentioned hurdy-gurdy earlier. Hurdy-gurdy is a traditional European medieval clubbing instrument, really, is what it was. So you'd go to the bar and dude playing hurdy-gurdy. So I just thought it was really interesting that they had a statue of a dude playing a hurdy-gurdy in this like traditional, like old Japanese hotel. I don't know if there's a history behind that, but it was cool. In fact, hurdy-gurdy means, I know, Ben, I'm sure you know this, hurdy-gurdy translates to like shake your ass, basically shake your butt, right? Because it's like, it's the OG like club instrument, like everybody get down to the hurdy-gurdy back in 703 AD or whatever, I don't know, not later than that, but yeah, Mr. Ghibli himself, yeah, Mr. Ghibli. So yeah, this, again, more of the hotel. This place is crazy. There's just so much going on in this hotel. We had an all-you-can-eat lunch at this fancy place hotel. This plate doesn't look that appetizing, but it was good. You can take my word for it. It was good, and we ate a lot. I didn't take too much pictures of it because I was just stuffing my face with food. It was quite tasty, so that was included on the tour. Then we went to the Open Architecture Museum, which is like a big. It's kind of like a park. You have to pay to get in, but it's a park and it's got a bunch of old buildings that were transplanted over here. And again, this is another thing that supposedly, it used to be, it is, it's near where Ghibli used to work. And so he would come here supposedly and be inspired by the architecture. So, and this building does look kind of very indicative of Ghibli with, I feel like, the green and the architecture. And then, you know, there's a lot of stuff here. I just took a picture of some of it. It's like old bathhouses and things like that. And then this is a stationery shop, and supposedly, if you've seen Spirited Away, this might look familiar because here's the Boiler Man. I don't remember his name, but yeah, it looks pretty similar. I mean, maybe this was what inspired it because, you know, it is close to Ghibli, but, you know, it also could have been inspired by something different. I'm not 100% sure that they're completely correct with all of it, but, you know, it could have inspired him. So now we're in the Ghibli Museum, which is like the end of the last part of the tour, which was destination. Here's on the roof of the Ghibli Museum, you have the robot from Castle in the Sky. Here's me taking a picture of him. You cannot take pictures inside the Ghibli Museum, so I do not have any photos of the inside of the Ghibli Museum, of course. The Ghibli Museum was cool. It was, I had high expectations, and I'd say it was cool. It's worth going to, but I wasn't like blown away or anything. The big exhibit that was there when I went was like from some old anime that Ghibli worked on with like a boy and like a post-apocalypse with like a shark or something, Shark Boy and Lava Girl or something like that. Some old like shark thing with like a boy and like a post-apocalypse. It was cool. It was cool to see all like the old artwork from it, and yeah, it was cool. Ghibli Museum, cool. But again, I don't really have a lot of pictures of it. We got some like cool food and all that, but yeah, and we saw the little movie there. Like they have shorts that they play on different shorts on different like days. So yeah, it was cool. Bought some souvenirs for my family and stuff like that. The next day, we just kind of explored Tokyo the next day. We went to Shibuya, we went to Shinjuku, we went to Harajuku, we walked around. We went to, let's see what else I got pictures of here. Oh yeah, Harajuku's kind of like a fashion district. Harajuku's cool because there's really dense alleyways full of shops selling like interesting clothes, and then there's like that's where you might see like a gyaru like running, like walking around in full like makeup and like with their crazy gyaru clothes and stuff, and like a lot of like trendy fashion, teenage trendy fashion kind of stuff. But there's a Charlie Brown cafe in Harajuku, which we went to. There it is, pretty cool. Supposedly there's a decent amount of Charlie Brown stuff in Japan, which I mean I love Charlie Brown, so that's cool. There's the drink I got. Wasn't that good, this drink, unfortunately. Because the base of it was very just kind of like soda watery. It was kind of like a sparkling water almost, which I don't like sparkling water. So like it wasn't as flavorful as it looked, but it was beautiful to take a picture of, so there's that. We went to Tower Records Shibuya. Awesome place. I mean, just look at it. This is a record store, right? The whole thing's a record store. It's huge, right? Multiple floors. We spent a couple hours in here, just looking at records and listening to things. And on the roof up here is actually a little concert venue. It's a really terrible venue actually, because there's like no acoustics. It's just hard concrete and like hard concrete floors. We went up there and there's an idol group performing, but it was so loud and just cacophonous that it was kind of painful. So we very swiftly left that. But it was cool that it was there. Like it was cool. I appreciate that they were doing that. There's also like some idol girl like stuff, memorabilia outfits in there, which is kind of just cool. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. This was the urinals, the urinals in Tower Records, which I was like, I thought were interesting to say the least. Like, if any girls know, might not know that, sometimes in bathrooms, urinals are just kind of next to each other with no divider. Usually there's a divider for like eye lines and stuff, but it's not that uncommon for guys to just have to pee next to each other and have like nothing blocking it. Besides just like, I mean, like there's etiquette, right? You either look down, or you look straight ahead, or you look up when you pee at a urinal, right? But this is next level. These urinals, like how close they are together, and like how they're in like an arc. I just thought it was interesting. I walked in, I've never seen urinals like this. The only thing close to this I can think of is like when you go to like a football game or a baseball game and there's just like a trough urinal, right? Some of you guys may be familiar with the trough, where it's just like a literal giant bucket trough, one giant bucket trough, and everyone just pees into it. It's so gross, but yeah, interesting pee stuff. That night, we also saw the famous Harajuku crossing, the big crossing, Shibuya crossing, one of the crossings. The one that's the big famous one where like 1 billion people walk on the crosswalk. We walked through it and I was like, all right, cool. But that night we had to get Japanese McDonald's because it was like, again, I wanted to compare American fast food to Japanese fast food. And I got a teriyaki chicken burger and some macaron cookies. And yeah, it was freaking delicious and it was cheap. So, I mean, not a whole lot to say there. It was better than American McDonald's. The fries were identical. The fries were the exact same. And from what I've heard, McDonald's, no matter where they're located, specifically always imports their potatoes from, I think, Idaho. I mean, Idaho's the potato state, so probably Idaho. It might be Iowa. But no matter where your McDonald's is, they're, as a franchise, as their business model is, they're going to have the same fries, right? So they import the potatoes from America, and they do the fries the same way. So the fries are the same. But the rest of the menu is different. So, you know, there's crossover obviously, but I got something you can't get on the American menu, the teriyaki chicken burger. It's quite tasty. That's all I have to say about that. So at this point we've been in Shinjuku for 2 or 3 days. We did our Ghibli tour, we walked around, we did some other stuff. And it was time to go to Akihabara. So at this point we moved hotels to N Plus Hotel in Akihabara. And this was $165 a night. And the reason it's so expensive is because this was a holiday weekend. This was like Friday, Saturday by now. And it was sports week, I think it was, in Japan. So it was hard to find a hotel for once. A lot of hotels are booked, and the ones that weren't booked were really expensive. So normally this hotel is a lot cheaper. But this was the smallest double room we stayed in. Like, you're looking at the whole room, basically. Like, there's a little space behind. But this hotel was tight, like, literally and figuratively. Like, it was tight because it was cool, and it was tight because it was tiny. But, like, it's just, I don't know, it was just so atmospheric and cool. The decor was really cool and just, like, trendy, and I liked it. And, like, it felt, like, rustic, but also modern. And, like, I don't know, it was just a cool hotel. And it was so Japan is kind of well known for having really tiny footprint, but really tall buildings, right? So and some of them are shops, right? Like they'll have like little like Yodobashi cameras or something that are like the square foot of an apartment in America, but they're like 12 stories tall, because Tokyo is such a densely packed, populated city. It's the most densely packed and biggest city, or maybe not the most densely packed, but it is the biggest city in the world, Tokyo, on some metric. I don't remember which metric, but it is the biggest city. So land space is at a premium. So they have these buildings, again, that are just extremely tall. They just shoot straight up, but they are very tiny. So this hotel, I think, had 2 rooms this size per floor. And that was the size of the hotel, right? The bottom floor is a tiny little lobby, and then just 2 rooms per floor for like 15 floors. But yeah, I dig this place. The N Plus Hotel. We went to the wrong N Plus first. We went to Akihabara. We got off Akihabara Station, and then I entered N Plus, and then I walked to N Plus, and it was a different one. But the guy was really helpful, really nice. He's like, "Oh, okay. Let me see your reservation. Oh yeah, you're at the wrong one. Go this way, that way." At this point, we had accrued quite a lot of luggage because we'd been buying stuff, and we had quite a lot of heavy stuff. So this is quite a miserable trek to our real hotel. But yeah, Akihabara, walking distance to Akihabara, which, if you don't know, Akihabara is the nerd anime capital of Japan, famously. And, I mean, it's exactly what you expect it to be. It's a bunch of, again, look, you can kind of see here, these aren't that tiny, they're pretty tiny, but it's these tiny, tall, little department stores full of just anime stuff. And Akihabara, I believe, originally was an old radio and electronics district was known for. So it was there, and then there still are, you go down alleyways and go into buildings, and they'll have these old electronics stores and little street booths, right? Like you'd see in an alleyway that are just full of old stuff, old electronics and old radios and old wires and batteries and RC cars and stuff like that. But it's been kind of taken over by the anime side of stuff, and there's claw machine buildings full of just arcade games and pachinko parlors and just buildings full of nothing but anime figurines and anime merch and clothes and all kinds of stuff. It's cool. It's what you expect it to be, and it's awesome. Maid cafes everywhere. That's something on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. What else do I have for Akihabara? Oh yeah, finally we found some udon in Akihabara. I ate some udon. Picture for more food, because why not? So yeah, everything in Japan is anime branded, right? And by everything, I mean they've got Bochi shoes, Bochi Adidas. They've got, this was on the top floor of a weird back corner. They had this drink vending machine, and it had banana milk, but if you've ever seen Steins Gate, you'll recognize that this is the Steins Gate time travel banana. And I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get one, but they were 1,000 yen, which is $8, which I thought was a lot for a canned drink. But they're like some sort of special rare drink. I should have got one, but I didn't. And then there's also some other special promotional stuff. I think this girl's actually a VTuber, and I think this is actually a VTuber promotion, but I'm not sure. Sushi, there's an anime girl on the sushi. Again, the Madoka TVs in the Yodobashi camera. Hololive nuts. We've got here's some horse girls. Uma Musume Macadamia. We've got Yuzu Choco almonds. We've got Subaru pistachio. We've got Aqua almond. Oh, that actually works out. And then just look there's what's the Idol anime? Whatever that Idol anime is with the song Idol. Whatever that is. I don't even know what that is, what that item is. Demon Slayer stuff, and then we've got the Shion hazelnuts? I've never even seen boxed hazelnuts, I don't think. The trains had an anime girl on them. Oh, we went to some bookstores, and all of the self-help books, all the For Dummies books, just have anime girls on them. Just on random topics. This is a Microsoft Excel book, and they're yeah, just put an office lady on the front. Why not? And every topic, there was learn Python with the anime girl on the front. Learn advanced trigonometry with an anime girl, right? Just everything. And this was the craziest one, I thought. There was a fire department with an anime mascot, which is cool, but it's a little strange. I like it. I dig it though. We hit Coco Curry, which is Coco is owned, I believe, by the Catalina Restaurant Group, which also owns Caro's and Coco's and another diner in America. But this is the Japanese version of the diner, and they sell curry, katsu curry. and I really, really wanted one of these spoons. They had these cool spoons, like up for available. You could get a cocoa curry spoon, but you have to like do like a mail order promotion thing where you like get coupons and like ship them in. I was like, can I just buy one, please? Can I please just buy a spoon? And they're like, no, sorry, we can't sell you the spoon. I'm like, dang it. So I was disappointed I couldn't buy a cocoa spoon, but whatever. Here's some katsu curry. This is what I got here. This was the mushroom curry. It was delicious. Not a lot to say. It's just curry. Just some more random stuff in Akihabara. Here's a bunch of Ultraman. It's kind of cool to see some old school stuff. Again, with the cafes, I've been to a couple cafes already, and there's a lot of these European style cafes around. I got like a delicious banana pie and some tea at this one. And then we went to the Sky Tree. There's if you want tall things in Tokyo, you got two options. You got the Tokyo Tower and you got the Tokyo Sky Tree. The Tokyo Sky Tree is a lot newer. It's a lot way bigger. It's the largest tower in America. Not the largest structure, but it's the tallest like tower in America. Tallest broadcast tower. And it is actually used for broadcast to this day, I think. But by this point in the trip, I was starting to feel a little sick. And again, like I said, this was a holiday weekend, so this place was freaking packed up the butt with people. And you cram in this little elevator and you go up there, and I was it was cool. It might be worth going to if it's like a weekday and it's not going to be full. But I was a little miserable. It is cool though. It's freaking tall. You go up there, boom, you get to look at all of Tokyo. And you can kind of spend as long as you want up there and just go around the circle, which is what we did, and like look out at the city. Amazing to see how few cars there are. Like, look at the roads. There's like no cars on them. That's Tokyo for you. Yeah, so Tokyo Tower, or Skytree. This is Skytree. It's cool, but there's also a mall at the bottom of it. There's like it's called the Skytree Mall. It's pretty big, but there was like a whole floor of the mall, which is like a kids like play zone. So there was just like so many kids in this area, and Skytree in general was just packed with like little kids. So it was like, there's just kids like running around, and they were like, they were Japanese kids, so they were more polite than American kids, but still there's just kids yelling and running around and playing and having a good time, which, good for them. But me with like a headache and wearing a mask and starting to feel sick was not really having a great time of it. But whatever. Tokyo Skytree, it's cool. Oh, this was the dessert at the Maid Cafe. So, and you can see even the word maid. So when we were in one of the stores, just like we were on the top floor of a big store, looking at clothes, and there was like in the back, there's like a little restaurant, and we're like, what's this? And there's like a maid cafe back there. And we looked into it, and it's like a classy maid cafe. So, oh, hey, Lyriday. Lovely for you to drop in. Happy to see ya. I was just talking about maid cafes. But so I'm sure most of you are familiar with the maid cafe kind of spiel, where you go in and it's like very over the top, and they dance and they yell and they like cast a spell on your food. We were not super down for that because we were like, we're both really awkward, and we're like, that's like, if you don't play into it with them, I feel like it's gonna be really uncomfortable, because like they're doing their thing, and it feels wrong for you to not like give them that energy back. And we were like, we're too awkward to give them that energy back. So we like, let's do both us and the maids a favor and not go to like a traditional maid cafe. But we found this one, which was like kind of a classier one. Like they don't do a whole like song and dance. And one thing that I thought was cool when I like peeked in was the maids all had ankle length maid dresses, right? They were full like old fashioned maid dresses that went all the way down to their feet. And then there was also men working there, which was kind of cool to see. So there was like guys in like, vests, like dress vests, and dressed very spiffy at the bar, making cocktails. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. So we ended up going in here. And also supposedly this is like a licensed like tea house by some licensed tea federation. So like their tea is like legit or something. That's their favorite type of maid dress. Yeah, see, it's like the skimpy ones are cool and like the short skirts are cool and all that, but it's like I kind of like just the old like French style that's like not sexy at all, like it is, it is in its own way, but it's kind of like, it's classy. I kind of like that more. So it was very classy. it was a more subdued kind of mood in here, right? They didn't like dance and yell and stuff. They were like, here's your food. And they're like, it was cool. And the dessert was delicious. The tea was great. I had omu rice for my meal. There was good omu rice. There's my tea right there. Elegant. Yeah, elegant's a good word for it. I can see my receipt right there, 4,900 yen. Which again, if that's everything for the omu rice, the tea, and the dessert, that's like freaking no money. That's like $30. I mean, that's kind of expensive, but for Japan, that's kind of expensive. But you know, that's not that much money, really. In America, this would be like $60. A maid aficionado, yeah. I like all the maid styles, but I like a classy maid. Oh wow, we're already at the end. So yeah, we flew out. We landed in Haneda, and then we flew out of Narita. So we went to both of the major Japanese airports. And one kind of funny Narita story was I had already bought 2 watches at this point, right? I'd already spent $600 on 2 Japanese watches. Yeah, and you get the special experience of the maid cafe. It's like you go to Japan, Akihabara, it's like you gotta go to at least some sort of maid cafe. But that was a good alternative because it was more low key, and we didn't have to like get into it and be awkward. But we were at the food court in Narita, and I ordered my food, and we were like, you know, it was like a big food court, you know, and my friend was sitting, and I'm like, I'm gonna find some water if I can. So I went and I looked for water. I couldn't find it. I ended up like upstairs, like in the shopping area somehow, and I'm like looking, and I see some more watches, and I'm like, this is my last chance to take advantage of the exchange rate. Well, and I just quickly ran over, and I'm like, give me a watch. And I bought like another, like, I didn't even look at the price. It ended up being like a $350 watch, which is more than I wanted to spend. But I was like, give me this watch. I want it. Give it to me now. And I bought a watch. I literally left my food on the table to get water, and I came back with a watch, and I was like all embarrassed because I was like, oh, I don't want my friend to know I bought another watch. It's embarrassing. Like, he's like, oh, what took you so long? And I'm like, I couldn't find water. And I couldn't. But I was like, I kind of like tucked the watch under my like belt, and I'm like, nah, don't worry about this. Because again, like there was the positive exchange rate of dollar to yen. I was like, this watch would be like 30% more if I bought it in America. I've already bought 2 watches. I might as well buy a third. And also, I recently kind of got into watches because of Japan. Japan is probably the second quote-unquote best, you know, that's objective, but like the second best and the second most well-known maker of watches in the world. The first being, of course, the Swiss with, you know, Rolex and Omega and, you know, all those Swiss, the Swiss brands, you know, because Swiss watches, that's so hard to say. Oh my gosh, say Swiss watches. Swiss watch brands. Okay, it's not that hard. I'm just having struggle. They do have one of the best crafts. Yeah, so like they've got, in Japan they have the Citizen group and they have the Seiko group. And the Seiko group, and Seiko and Citizen are also, they make watches, but they make watch movements. So a lot of micro brands, like small watch brands, will use Citizen and Seiko movements because they're more affordable than Swiss movements, and they're very reliable, very high quality, and pretty cheap. So, and I bought a Citizen watch at the airport, and then I also actually found out after that the 2 watches I bought from the micro brand were using Miyota movements, which is a Citizen movement. So all 3 of my watches have Citizen internals, and the other like major like competitor is Seiko, which I actually just bought a Seiko for my dad's birthday. I haven't gotten it in the mail yet, but I'm looking forward to getting that. But I've kind of put a restriction on myself of I can only buy watches if I'm visiting another country or it's like a very special occasion, because otherwise I will just impulse buy a bunch of watches and spend all my money. I don't even like wearing them that much. I just like looking at them. But yeah, I bought a watch at the airport last minute, and also Haneda is so convenient to go to the train directly from the airport is good. Yeah, so we left via Narita, I think. Yeah, we landed via Haneda and we left via Narita. So But it is, and again, like there's train stations in both these airports, so it's so cool because you just hop off the train and you're there. But the Narita airport train was a little bit stressful because it's not a bullet train, but it's like a faster train the one we took than a regular train, because it's like it goes a longer distance. And it's like it's a train that has like luggage, right? Like spots for your luggage up front. But Japanese trains run on time, right? Famously. And that means they stop at the station for like the normal trains stop at the station for like a couple seconds sometimes, right? For like a minute or something, right? But so when you have to like unload your luggage and there's a bunch of people on the train and it's only going to be in the airport for like 3 minutes, it's like, I noticed people as we were getting closer to the airport, everyone was getting up and standing in the aisles and queuing up and getting their luggage. And I was like, oh shoot, we should probably do that too. And I'm glad we did. But so we queued up, and it was a bit of like a little bit of a stressful moment because we're like, we got to get off this train and we got to get our luggage. Our luggage is at the front of the train. We have to run up to the front of the train. We can't do it right now because there's a bunch of people in the way. Get our luggage, get off the train, get our flight. But it was fine. It was totally fine. So yeah, that was a brief overview of my 2-week. Was it 2 weeks? Yeah, must have been 2 weeks. My 2-week Japan trip. A lot more happened, and I saw a lot more stuff than what I could include on this presentation, because otherwise I'd be here for like the next 6 hours. But yeah, it was cool. It was really cool, and it was I highly recommend it. I mean, I don't know what more else to say. Japan is awesome, and it's a great place to vacation. Now is a great time to go. But I also have for us my full cost breakdown, because I'm not gonna like hide money. I don't believe in like being secretive about money related stuff. You should talk about money. So here's a full breakdown of all my costs. And so right here in the green, I have my overall costs was $3,600. So that's quite a lot of money. You can definitely spend a lot less. You can definitely spend a lot more. I think this is but I mean, if you watch the presentation from the beginning, you'll know that we did a lot, and we went to a lot of cities. We stayed in a lot of hotels. We did some fancy stuff. We went to a lot of places, a bunch of places I didn't even show in this presentation. So it was a packed freaking week, 2 weeks, and we was go, 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 go. And so for the amount of money we spent for how much we did, I think it's very affordable. Like, you can't do this kind of thing in America for this much money. You'd spend double, right? And so over here on the left, I have, so these are prices for both of us, right? So these prices will all be cut in half per person, right? So it was $1,804 for 2 plane tickets, right? It was $312 for 2 Ghibli tour tickets. It was $586 for 2 people to stay at the Kyoto Townhouse for 3 nights, right? So all these prices will be cut in half, besides the JR price tag. So the JR pass price was $216. You have to do the math to see if that's worth it if you go. It was barely worth it for us, I would say. Yeah, we went to expensive ryokans. Yeah, we went to 2 expensive ryokans. I don't know if you did see the bathhouse one. The bathhouse one was crazy. And the bathhouse one was only well, it was $200, but we were there for 2 nights. So that's not that bad. It's just so cheap when you really consider it. Tea ceremony, $45 for 2 people. Like, holy moly. Where's the Kyoto Ryokan? So $229 for 1 night for 2 people at the Kyoto Ryokan, and $400 for, is it 3 nights? I don't remember if this was 2 or 3 nights. It must have been 2, but for a big room. This is a big room. But highly recommend Jihachiro. Jihachiro is the name of the ryokan in Gifu, which, so I keep gushing about Gifu because of that freaking cafe and that freaking ryokan. Man, that bathhouse. So yeah, that was all that stuff. This was hotels, excursions, plane ticket. And then I spent an additional $959 personally on food and like souvenirs and other expenses. Still in shock by the flight. Yeah, it's like $900. Ooh, wait, let's get $900 is not that much for like an 18-hour flight with 3 meals, I think, if I remember right. Like I was like, oh man, there's a lot of food on this airplane. Yeah, so and then yeah, almost $1,000 for all other expenses, which again was all of our food for 2 weeks in a foreign country for under $1,000. It's not that bad, especially when I consider probably half of that is like souvenirs and crap. Because I bought a bunch of stuff for like families and stuff. Like I brought a bunch of stuff back. This does exclude the 3 watches. If I included the 3 watches, that would probably add another close to $1,000. But I thought that would skew my price too much because most people aren't going to buy 3 watches when they go to Japan. But yeah, that's my cost breakdown. If you have any questions about anything, and then here's my schedule breakdown. So again, I did all the planning for this and I'm quite proud of myself. And we ended up hitting pretty much all this stuff. We didn't really miss anything. There's a few things we didn't end up going to, like Gion Corner was like a traditional Japanese show in Kyoto, which we were always doing something else at 6 p.m. So we missed that, which is kind of a shame. Everything looks so tidy. You should see, I have like several pages of like really like nicely organized stuff. But yeah, please plan. Planning vacations I found was I had so much fun doing this. And I have like maps and like receipts and like, it was really stressful and daunting at first, but my sister got me started and she like helped show me some tricks and some tips. And like, the more I got rolling on this and the more I was like, just browsing through Expedia, looking at hotels, like, and again, the fact that it's Japan and the fact that it's so cheap, it's like, it's so much more fun to plan. Are you keeping the streak? Yes, I'm absolutely keeping this VOD because I think this is a good VOD thing to watch for people if they are interested. So hopefully the sound and everything is good because I've been talking for over 3 hours, I think. I don't know how long the stream's been going, but yeah. So, and if anyone wants to pause and look back at my schedule or look back at any of my budget and stuff, yeah. And if anyone has any questions or comments that they want to say before I wrap it up here, glad I finally got to do the stream because I did this trip several months ago. So I'm sure there's some things I forgot, but I'm already ready for my next vacation.